Chapter 839. The old woman glanced at the two of them, her face filled with a strange sense of contempt. "It's good that you know how to be ashamed." She snorted, raised her walking stick, and rushed out of the cold pond. Xian'ao and the Virgin of the River immediately followed. When the three of them landed on the ground, the Virgin of the River immediately supported the old woman. She was respectful and focused. The old woman did not refuse, but said indifferently, "Disciple, there are so many places in the myriad heavens, and so many powerful spirit cultivators. If you don't choose, why did you come to this kind of small world? And you even found such an incompetent man to be your dual cultivation partner? Don't you think it's not worth it?" Hearing that, Xian'ao's face turned ugly, but he did not dare to be angry. He did not even dare to say a word, and only follow behind. The goddess of the river was also quite helpless. She said softly, "Master is right, but to find a dual cultivation partner is not to find a strong person, but to find a suitable person. I feel that the sovereign king is very suitable for me." "How stupid!" The void spirit saint snorted, turned his head and stared at Xian'ao, and said, "It is your honor that my disciple can be your dual cultivation partner. But how did you treat me?" "What do you mean by that, saint?" Xian'ao hurriedly said, "Send your army to surround me and take me down. Is this how you treat your guests?" The void spirit saint said coldly. Hearing that, Xian'ao immediately explained, "The saint has misunderstood. This is all because of the person who stole the Dragon Abyss Pearl. My Jiang country treats the saint like how we treat the imperial teacher. We do not dare to be disrespectful in the slightest. Please calm your anger, saint." With that, Xian'ao turned his head and shouted to a general who was following him, "Which battalion was it that went down the cold pond just now?" "Reporting to your majesty is the 7th Battalion led by General Su Sihu." The general immediately replied, "Including Su Sihu, all the soldiers and generals will be executed. Extract their souls, refine them into myriad soul pills, and offer them to the saint." Xian'ao said solemnly. "Huh?" The general was dumbfounded. "What is it? You also want to be refined into a myriad soul pill?" Xian'ao frowned. The general quivered and hurriedly said, "This general will do it right away." With that, he left with heavy footsteps. Seeing this, Xian'ao cupped his fist towards the void spirit saint and said, "Please calm your anger, saint. For the sake of your sincerity, I will forgive you." The void spirit saint snorted. Her attitude was extremely arrogant, but the smile in her eyes could not be concealed. The myriad soul pill was a high-grade pellet that could only be refined with the souls of 10,000 people above the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Although to the void spirit saint, the soul of a 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master was not difficult to obtain, it was extremely difficult to obtain 10,000 of them. Xian'ao's pellet could be considered a great gift. "Thank you for your understanding." Xian'ao quickly bowed again. "Yes." The void spirit saint nodded his head, then said indifferently, "Disciple, why did you invite me to this small world? That long abyssal pearl. What's going on?" "Master, this time, please help us." Of course, the goddess of the river could not help but add fuel to the fire. She understood her master. If she was bullied, she would not let the other party off easily. This person was extremely protective. Sure enough, when the void spirit saint heard this, he was immediately enraged and shouted angrily, "How dare you? You injured my disciple, and even stole my disciple's treasure. Who is this person? I must capture him alive and throw him into my void spirit battle array. I will suffer the pain of the void spirit corrosion for all eternity." However, this person has already escaped from the Jianghan realm. Chasing him back is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Xian'ao shook his head and said indifferently, "When he and the Holy Mother of the River rushed to the Phoenix Cry Lake's hard island, they had already sensed that something was amiss. Although the entire island was shrouded in a blood-red mist, there was no other aura within the mist. Xian'ao used his divine technique to disperse the blood mist, only to realize that it was just a substitute that Su Yun had placed inside. When he realized that he had been lured away from a mountain, he immediately rushed over with the Holy Mother of the River through the teleportation formation. But in the end, he was still a step too late. Su Yun had already left through the entrance, and was afraid that he had already entered the ultimate martial sacred plane. Entering the ultimate martial sacred plane meant entering the ultimate martial world, which was the center of the 10,000 worlds and was connected to countless realms. No one knew where he would go. However, the Virgin of the River did not give up. Sovereign King, don't be anxious. Actually, I have already taken precautions against this matter. Previously, when Sovereign King was setting up defenses here, Jiang had already entered the cold pond and personally placed a spiritual imprint at the entrance of the cold pond. As long as he passes through the entrance, I will be able to lock onto his spirit and find his location through his spiritual imprint. However, this person has most likely already swallowed the Dragon Abyss bead. What's the point of finding him again? Xian Ao shook his head. He is not in the Jianghan realm, so it will be very difficult for him to absorb the Dragon Abyss bead. Even if he has a place to absorb the Dragon Abyss bead, it will not be a big problem. We can kill him, imprison his soul and body, and bring him back to refine a pill. Although the pill refined cannot compare to the Dragon Abyss bead, it can still be considered a treasure, the Holy Mother of the River said. Hearing that, Xian Ao's eyes lit up. If that was the case, it could be considered compensation. Good. Since that's the case, Holy Mother, quickly lock onto that person and see where he is. I will immediately send an expert to capture him. Send an expert? If you have an expert in this small world, would you still need my disciple to invite me over? The Void Spirit Saint snorted. Xian Ao's expression was a little ugly, but he still endured it. He bowed to the Void Spirit Saint. Saint, although this person's cultivation is not high, he has a treasure protecting his body. Swords and blades cannot penetrate his body. This time, I hope that the saint can help me capture this person. Sure. The Void Spirit Saint said indifferently. However, you said that this person is impervious to blades and has a treasure protecting his body. In that case, this person must have a divine object? Most likely so. I can help you capture and kill this person, but you must hand over the treasure on his body to me. This, Xian Ao was a little hesitant. In fact, the reason why he was still persevering was not only because of the Dragon Abyss Pearl, but also because of the treasure on Su Yun's body that allowed him to be invulnerable. With this divine object, Su Yun, a spirit emperor, could ignore the army of the Jiang country. If it was in Xian Ao's hands, he would definitely be a dragon soaring through the 9 heavens, and no one would be able to stop him. What is it? Unwilling? Since that's the case, then forget it. If you can't even capture this person in the Jianghan realm, what else can you do to him once he leaves the Jianghan realm? The Void Spirit Saint sneered. Hearing that, Xian Ao went silent. After a moment, he chose to compromise. If the saint is willing to make a move, then all of this person's possessions will belong to the saint. Xian Ao will only take the Dragon Abyss Pearl. The Void Spirit Saint snorted, then turned his head to look at the Holy Mother of the River and said, Disciple, go and find out the location of that person. We will make our move now. Since he just left the Jianghan realm, he must not have gone far. We will move now and chase after that brat. We should still be able to catch up? Yes, master. The Holy Mother of the River nodded. Without hesitation, she sat up cross-legged and closed her eyes. Her snow-white hands quickly alternated as she formed some sort of seal. A ray of light overflowed from her forehead and shot straight into the clouds. Following that, the ray of light split apart and turned into 8 tiny streams of light that flew into the distance and disappeared into the void. The Virgin of the River immediately opened her eyes and looked straight ahead. Her eyes suddenly turned white and transparent. It was extremely cautious, and there seemed to be something flashing in her pupils. After a moment, everything disappeared and returned to normal. The Holy Mother of the River's expression was a little sluggish. After a moment, she suddenly trembled and recovered. Disciple, have you locked onto his location? The Void Spirit Saint immediately asked in a deep voice. Locked on. The Holy Mother of the River nodded her head. Master, Sovereign King, this person has just entered the ultimate martial world and is currently running towards the demonic blood road. Demonic blood road? Xian'ao frowned. This road leads to the true devil realm. Could it be that he wants to escape to the true devil realm? It's definitely possible. A sinister look flashed past the eyes of the goddess of the rivers. When I fought with this person, I discovered that the profound chi he used contained a trace of devil chi. Maybe he is someone from the true devil realm. True devil realm. The current true devil realm is complicated and not easy to deal with, especially the true devil sect in the true devil realm. After the battle of Supreme One, it is like the sun in the sky. Xian'ao hesitated. The Jianghan realm is not close to the true devil realm. If we were to send experts to the true devil realm to capture this person, I'm afraid it would not be easy. What? Are you afraid? The void spirit saint at the side coldly snorted. With your virtue, do you think you are worthy to be the ruler of a country? What a joke. You're such a coward. You better go into seclusion. Facing the ridicule of the void spirit saint, Xian'ao did not dare to refute a single word and could only silently endure it. He secretly clenched his fists and did not say a word. On the other hand, the Holy Mother of the River felt that something was wrong. She could tell that her master did not like the monarch. So she said, "Master, what should we do now? What else can I do?" "Go straight to the true devil realm." The void spirit saint snorted. "Since Master has made such a decision, your disciple will definitely support it." "Sovereign King, what do you think?" "I will send my expeditionary army to the true devil realm." Xian'ao took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "There is nothing that I, Xian'ao, cannot obtain." "Good, you have guts. This is what the ruler of a country should say." The void spirit saint finally praised Xian'ao and said, "Don't worry, with this old one here, even if that guy is hiding in the true devil sect, I will definitely be able to find him." "Saint, when are we leaving?" "Gather the experts immediately. We will leave immediately. My disciple's spiritual imprint will not last long." "All right." Xian'ao nodded and immediately summoned the general beside him. "Gather the troops," he shouted in a low voice. Chapter 840. When he passed through the entrance, he had already felt something sneaking into his mind, wanting to pry into his consciousness. Although this thing was weak and would not last for long, it was extremely difficult to remove. If he was not careful, it would damage his brain and destroy his consciousness, which would definitely have an impact on his spirit. The Holy Mother of the River was indeed an expert in the profound technique. Su Yun had never encountered such a thing before. However, since he couldn't get rid of it, he could only wait for it to disappear. Su Yun did not know what the specific use of the spirit imprint was, but after thinking about it carefully, the possibility of it locking onto his position was extremely high. This kind of thing did not contain much energy. It was not enough to kill a spirit emperor, and this was the only possibility. Perhaps Xian'ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers would not give up and would still come looking for trouble with him. Su Yun did not think that Xian'ao would let him go so easily. With his temperament, he would definitely not let it go so easily. If he were to return to the ultimate martial sacred plane now, it would only cause more trouble for his master. Once Xian'ao chased after him, it would only cause chaos in the sacred plane. The true devil sect was extremely powerful, and no matter what, it was still considered the territory of the devil cultivator. As the demon lord, Su Yun would more or less be protected. Although he had a trouble octagon aniseed again, the situation was special. Su Yun was not willing to get entangled with the people from the Jianghan realm, so he settled them all in one go. The Devil Blood Road was already filled with demonic energy. The closer they got to the end, the denser the demonic energy became. After walking to the end of the Devil Blood Road, Su Yun passed through the gate and stepped into the true devil realm. However, as soon as he stepped out of the door, a hard barrier blocked his way. Hua 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 hua. The sound of a large amount of air clashing came out. Su Yun's entire body seemed to be pushed by countless of large hands. He was caught off guard and almost fell back. In a moment of desperation, he immediately activated the Imperial Battle Robe and released his divine power. Only then did the pushing force dissipate. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, countless pitch-black figures rushed over from all directions. The devil chi instantly enveloped Su Yun, but when it touched the god power, it was completely devoured. "Who is it?" A cold shout rang out. Su Yun looked over, only to see a few devil cultivators standing not far from him. "I am a true devil sex demon, Lord Su Yun. Who are you?" Su Yun did not stand on ceremony. He immediately took out his order badge and shouted, "Demon Monarch." The leader of the devil cultivator was startled. Looking at the order badge in Su Yun's hand, he immediately took a few steps forward and knelt down on one knee. "So it's Lord Devil Monarch. Your subordinate has offended you. Please punish me. Those who don't know are innocent. Besides, this is the first time we've met, so it's only natural that you don't know me," Su Yun said, then looked around and realized that the entrance to the demon realm was actually covered with dozens of extremely terrifying enchantments. These enchantments were wrapped in layer after layer, densely packed, and the aura floating above was definitely not something that an existence like the Spirit Emperor could possess. Did something happen in the true devil realm? Su Yun frowned and asked, "What's going on? Why are there so many barriers at the entrance?" "Reporting to my lord, this is the order given by the Vice Sect Master Chi 7 days ago. He had already ordered the realm to be sealed. Without his permission, no one is allowed to enter or leave the true devil realm," the fiend kind said. "Is that so?" Su Yun frowned. "Wasn't the Supreme Sect destroyed? Logically speaking, the true devil sect should not have any enemies. So why would they take such precautions? Against whom? Where is the eight-toothed sect master?" Su Yun asked. "Reporting my lord, the Vice Sect Master just happened to be inspecting the defensive line. He is in the tent at the back." "Tent? Could it be that the true devil sect had formed an army?" Su Yun was startled, then said, "Quickly bring me to find him." "Yes, Lord Devil Lord, this way please." The devil cultivator led Su Yun to the camp at the back, while the other devil cultivator continued to guard outside the gate. The devil cultivator opened the enchantment, and Su Yun walked out. At this moment, he realized that what he had seen at the entrance was just the tip of the iceberg. The surroundings of the true devil realm's entrance were densely packed, as far as the eye could see. They were all devil cultivator. Innumerable high platforms, innumerable formations, innumerable magical puppets, innumerable sabers, all of this densely packed together, so packed that not even a drop of water could trickle through. A murderous aura accompanied the devil chi as it swayed in the air. In this pitch-black world, pairs of bloody eyes flickered like stars in the night sky, giving off a solemn and terrifying feeling. When Su Yun walked down, the devil cultivator all raised their heads to look at him. The tens of thousands of pairs of blood-red eyes gave off an indescribable sense of oppression. "This is the Lord Devil Lord of the true devil sect. Why aren't you paying your respects?" the devil cultivator immediately shouted. With that said, the devil cultivator immediately stood up and cupped their fists towards Su Yun. This subordinate pays his respects to the demon lord. "Greetings, demon lord." The surrounding people stood up and shouted. Those who heard it from afar also stood up and cupped their fists as they shouted. As a result, the devil cultivators that were all over the mountains and plains all stood up and shouted loudly. Seeing that, Su Yun could not help but smile bitterly. There was no need to look for Octagon Aniseed now. He believed that Octagon Aniseed was already heading over here, sure enough. The loud shouts did not last for long before a grand voice once again echoed in the distance. "Greetings, Vice Sect Leader. Greetings, Vice Sect Leader. Greetings, Vice Sect Leader." The two voices of greeting seemed to overlap. The scene was extremely noisy, and the sound shook the heavens. Su Yun looked forward and saw Octagon Aniseed and a group of higher-ups of the True Devil sect walking over quickly. A trace of excitement appeared in Octagon Aniseed's eyes, and the elders of the True Devil sect had blazing expressions. They were extremely excited. Ever since the battle of the Supreme Devil, Su Yun had lost track of him. Octagon Aniseed had sent people everywhere to search for him, and finally received news from the ultimate martial sacred plane. At that time, if Su Yun did not cover the retreat of Octagon Aniseed and the rest, At least half of the people who could stand here would have been gone. Seeing that Su Yun had returned safely, the demons were overjoyed and had a new opinion of Su Yun's strength. To be able to face the Grand Guard and the other experts by himself. Not only did he successfully stall them, he even managed to escape unscathed. What kind of strength did he have to possess to be able to do this? Ha ha ha, Lord Devil Lord, it's great that you have returned safely, ha ha. Octagon Aniseed's unique young girl's voice floated over again. He, a delicate and pretty fellow who looked like a child, walked in front of a group of tall and sturdy devil cultivator with blood-red eyes, looking out of place. However, he was the famous vice sect master of the true devil sect. No one dared to look down on him. A smile appeared on Su Yun's face, and he walked over. Before he could move, Octagon Aniseed stepped forward and hugged him fiercely. Welcome back. He chuckled softly. Yes. Su Yun nodded his head. He wanted to say something, but felt that if he said anything else, it would be a little excessive. He released Su Yun and sized him up from head to toe. His eyes were filled with surprise. It's been a long time since we last met. Your strength has increased by quite a bit. Demon Lord, it seems like you've had a fortuitous encounter? Not bad, not bad. Fortuitous encounter? I guess so, but it's not a good fortuitous encounter. Su Yun laughed bitterly. What is it? What happened? Octagon Aniseed asked. It's a long story. Let's go back first. Su Yun sighed. All right. Octagon Aniseed nodded, and then led Su Yun to the big tent at the back. The tent was heavily guarded, and there were guards inside and outside. Not only that, there were also enchantments and traps, making it look like a fortress. The more Su Yun looked, the more suspicious he became. He contacted the army outside and could not help but ask, Octagon Aniseed, what exactly is going on? Where did the devil cultivator outside come from? The true devil sect doesn't seem to have that many people, right? Unless Octagon Aniseed even pulled the real devil sect over, it would be impossible to gather so many devil cultivators. These are the armies that I have gathered. Many of them are elites from the various powers of the true devil realm, and I have placed them here to build a defensive line to deal with the incoming enemies. Octagon Aniseed said. The incoming enemy? Su Yun frowned. Oh, the people from the Supreme Sect. Octagon Aniseed said in a deep voice. The people from the Supreme Sect? Su Yun's heart jumped. He swept a glance at the people present. All of them were elders of the true devil sect. They were all people who followed the sect master. They were naturally trustworthy. He took a deep breath and said, The Supreme Sect has already been destroyed. How could they still have people? As soon as he said this, the tent immediately fell silent. The hearts of the two devils and the rest suddenly jumped. Their eyes opened wide as they looked at Su Yun. Octagon Aniseed was silent. When the atmosphere in the tent had solidified to the point that it could freeze water, he slowly opened his mouth. Actually, I'd already guessed that you were the one who destroyed the Supreme Sect. I should have told you earlier, but the situation was a little urgent at that time. I can understand. You don't want to know how I did it. That's not important. Octagon Aniseed smiled slightly. I only know that our true devil sect's demon lord did not humiliate our true devil sect. This is enough. However, in order to destroy this sect, no matter what methods he used, no matter what kind of circumstances he experienced, it was not something that ordinary people could understand. Furthermore, there is no need for him to care about this. He only needed to know that all of this was done by the demon lord. That was enough. No matter how much he asked, what was the point? Sometimes, understanding was more important than understanding. The other devil cultivator elders were also silent, but at this moment, they were not only looking at Su Yun with respect, but also with endless worship, their eyes burning with passion. Such a magnificent feat was unique in all the realms. Then, who exactly is the person from the Supreme Sect? Just then, Su Yun asked again. This question was what Su Yun was most concerned about. Chapter 841. If it was just an ordinary existence, Octagon Aniseed would not have mobilized so many people and used the power of the true devil realm. The true devil sect had always kept a low profile and had never formed any enmity with others. This time, the Supreme Sect had come looking for them. They had nowhere to retreat and could only choose to fight. However, Now that the supreme sect had been destroyed by Su Yun, who would dare to provoke the true devil sect? After all, outsiders did not know about this matter, and everyone thought that everything was done by the true devil sect. If that was the case, the voice of the true devil sect would definitely overflow the heavens, and their might would shake the 10,000 worlds. Who would dare to touch their eyebrows at this critical juncture? Actually, I didn't tell anyone about this matter. After a long while, Octagon Aniseed, who was sitting at the top, sighed and said slowly. Pairs of eyes looked at him, and there was even a hint of anticipation in their eyes. Previously, Octagon Aniseed had always been secretive and had always spoken halfway. Now that things had come to this, if he continued to hide it, it would only harm everyone. The reason why I didn't explain it to you was because I was worried that you would be afraid of the enemy. However, now that things have come to this point, it doesn't matter if I say it or not. You will know sooner or later, and they will probably come soon. As these words fell, everyone's nerves tensed up. It won't be long before they arrive. Who could it be? They do not belong to the Supreme Sect, but they have an extremely close relationship with the Supreme Sect. They would not interfere in the great battle between the Supreme Sect and us, but now that the Supreme Sect has been destroyed and the Supreme Sect Lord has fallen, this enemy will definitely not sit idly by and do nothing. I guess that they have already started a plan and are preparing to make a move against my true devil sect, to take revenge for the Supreme Sect. This sect is their sects that belong to the immortal world. It's called the Immortal Seeking Sect. Immortal? Immortal sect? All the elders present were shocked. What is it? Are you afraid? Octagon Aniseed snorted and said, This immortal seeking sect is actually just a force that was separated from an immortal sect. They do not have a complete cultivation system, and strictly speaking, they can only be called a half-immortal sect. Back then, my devil sect's great demon, Lord Changgu and Lord En Mo relied on their own strength to kill their way into the immortal king's palace. That is truly looking down on the three realms. Now that my true devil sect has fallen to such a state, do you even fear a half-immortal? When the elders heard this, they lowered their heads in shame. Since we've decided, let's fight. Don't worry about the power of the immortal seeking sect. If we avoid the fight, they will be even more arrogant. Moreover, there is no way out now. If they are from an immortal sect, they will have many tricks up their sleeves. It's useless to avoid them. At this moment, Su Yun spoke. Octagon Aniseed nodded his head and said, The Demon Lord is right. The magic tools used by the immortals are not something my magic tools can compare to. They're profound and bizarre. Forget about the entire true devil sect. Even if an ant hides, it will definitely be found by them. Since the enmity has already been formed, other than fighting them, there is no other choice. I prepared early. I did not want to be in a hurry and be caught off guard by the other party. So you integrated most of the forces in the devil realm and gathered them together? Su Yun said, That's right. Octagon Aniseed nodded his head and said solemnly, In truth, this is not only a crisis for the true devil sect, it is also a crisis for the entire true devil realm. Immortals have always hated us, devil cultivator, and if I am not wrong, once my true devil sect is eradicated by the immortal seeking sect, the immortal seeking sect will take the opportunity to sweep through the entire true devil realm. Sweep through the true devil realm? Su Yun frowned. Is there a need for that? Can their immortal seeking sect really contend against the entire realm? It's very necessary. Octagon Aniseed nodded his head. There are two reasons. Firstly, the immortal world has always hated our demon realm, because the formation of the true devil realm has an inseparable connection with the immortal world. The people who created the true devil realm back then actually came from the immortal world, and the true devil realm had always been viewed as their humiliation by the people of the immortal world. They could use the devil cultivator's soul to refine their so-called immortal pills and immortal equipment, and the people of the immortal world did not dare to kill each other. There was strict discipline there, and there were laws and restrictions. If an immortal fell, he would definitely be captured by the law enforcement immortals, and the law enforcement immortals could deal with any immortal who violated the rules at will, even refining them alive. For this reason, Whenever these immortals needed something, they would travel to different realms. The immortal world also had restrictions on them, and they could not act presumptuously in those weak realms. However, they could find an excuse to defend themselves, and now that they were dealing with the true devil realm, they were using revenge as an excuse. The cultivation system of the immortal seeking sect was not perfect. It was all because their own scale was too small, and they were unable to invite experts to explain it. If they were to plunder the huge resources of the true devil realm, it would be enough for them to jump into the ranks of the official powers of the immortal world. As for whether or not I can contend against the true devil realm, I'm not sure. After all, I do not know how powerful the immortal seeking sect is. When everyone heard this, they immediately understood. We must not let them succeed. No matter how strong the immortal seeking sect is, we are not afraid. We must give this group of sanctimonious people a painful blow. The inner demon stood up and said with a firm attitude, "That's right, in the ancient times, there were two supreme experts, Changgu and Enmo, who attacked the immortal world. Today, we will imitate them, defeat the immortal seeking sect, and kill our way to their lair. Right, fight them." The morale of the devil cultivator was high. I know that everyone is not afraid of battle. Octagon Aniseed swept his gaze across the crowd and said in a deep voice, "But this is already a war, a war. It's not just a moment of emotion. It also requires a brain." His expression was very serious. When everyone heard this, they all looked at him as if they were waiting for his next words. Suyin was no exception. He stared at Octagon Aniseed and asked, "Do you already have a plan?" "No." Octagon Aniseed's face suddenly relaxed as he laughed. The scene was silent for a while. Then all the devil cultivator elders turned their heads and looked outside the tent. Everyone's expression was strange and dazzling, and each of them had a different expression. "I say, can you have the appearance of a vice sect leader?" Suyin shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, "I really can't think of anything, can I?" Octagon Aniseed scratched his head. "Is there any news from the immortal seeking sect?" "Not yet, but I've already sent people to monitor them." "Oh, what is it? You even sent the devil cultivator to the immortal world? How is that possible? The devil chi is like a drop of chilly water dripping into your eyes. To immortals, it is very stimulating. If I send the devil cultivator to the immortal world, I'm afraid that before I can go far, I will be swallowed alive by those immortals." Octagon Aniseed said with his eyes wide open, "Then where are you monitoring it from?" "Supreme Sect." Octagon Aniseed smiled. "Actually, I still have some understanding of this immortal seeking sect. There are several spatial cracks in the Supreme Realm that have been transformed into a realm entrance by the people of the Supreme Sect, and the realm entrance to the immortal world is also one of them. So the people of the immortal seeking sect will definitely enter from the Supreme Sect. At this moment, there are my eyes everywhere in the Supreme Realm. As long as the immortal seeking sect enters the Supreme Realm, I will know immediately. Vice Sect leader has already set up many traps inside and outside the Supreme Realm. As long as the people of the immortal seeking sect enter the realm, they will definitely fall into the trap. At that time, even if they do not suffer a great deal of damage to their vitality, they will at least be covered in dust." The two devils laughed. As soon as he said this, everyone present immediately understood everything. This was the reason why Octagon Aniseed had sealed off the Supreme Realm. "It seems like you've already made preparations. That's good. A prepared battle will at least have a higher chance of winning." Suyin nodded. "Let's not talk about this now." Octagon Aniseed suddenly stood up and said, "I almost forgot. Demon Lord, Sect leader once told me that once you return to the true devil realm, you must immediately follow me to the sect." "What is it? Does the sect leader have something to say?" "There is indeed something, but it's not tape. I want you to go to a place." "Where?" Suyin was puzzled. "Ancient tomb." Octagon Aniseed said in a low voice. Hearing that, Suyin vaguely understood something. His expression did not change. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said indifferently, "Time is of the essence. Let's set off now." "Yes." Octagon Aniseed turned his head and said to the two devils, Elder Eremo, you stay here for the time being. You are in charge of everything here. If there is anything urgent, you must inform me immediately. Yes, Vice Sect Leader. The two devils nodded. In addition, the recruitment of soldiers cannot be relaxed. Any devil cultivator that comes to enter the sect must pass a strict examination before they can be recruited. Those fierce devil-s will be organized into a team by themselves and let the evil demon manage them. Understood. Yes. Octagon Aniseed nodded, and then walked out of the tent with Su Yun. However, after walking a few steps, Su Yun suddenly stopped. Let's wait first. Su Yun hesitated for a moment, then said, What's wrong? I suddenly remembered that there might be something I haven't taken care of yet. What is it? Octagon Aniseed asked. Su Yun then told Octagon Aniseed about the evil Chi and the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Octagon Aniseed quietly listened. His expression was blank for a moment. Then he said, You mean to say the people from Jianghan Realm will chase after us to the true Devil Realm? That should be the case. Maybe they're already on their way. Su Yun said helplessly, I should take care of these people first, then return to the Devil Sect, so as to not cause any more trouble. A bunch of mobs, why bother with them? Octagon Aniseed was a little confused. However, at this moment, a devil cultivator rushed over from afar. Report. What's wrong? Octagon Aniseed turned his head and asked. Reporting to Vice Sect Leader, someone has entered the realm and is attacking our barrier. Who is so bold? A devil cultivator elder said angrily. I don't know his identity for now. The barrier is thick and they haven't broken it yet. Go and ask them who they are. If they are from the Jianghan realm, let them in. Octagon Aniseed said. Yes, sir. The devil cultivator cupped his fists and left. Chapter 842. Dong, dong, dong. One after another, muffled sounds rang out from the entrance of the true devil realm. A large number of soldiers were surrounding the boundary entrance and frantically bombarding the barrier outside the boundary entrance. Blade lights and sword shadows overlapped, and all sorts of dazzling, profound technique bombarded the barrier like raindrops. However, the barrier did not move at all, and was as firm as a rock. Smash! Smash it hard for me! A general stood behind the soldiers and shouted loudly. When the soldiers heard this, they gritted their teeth and continued to crazily attack the barrier. However, no matter how hard the soldiers tried, they were unable to break through the barrier. It was like an iron wall that could not be broken by human strength. Damn it! What are you all doing eating? Are all of them weak-legged prawns? Give me all your strength. Use your anger. Faster. Faster. Seeing that the barrier wasn't damaged at all, the general became anxious. What's going on? General Zhang, why hasn't the barrier been opened yet? At this moment, a voice came from behind. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw Xian Ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers being escorted by a group of generals. When General Zhang heard this, he immediately walked over, cupped his fists, and said, Your Majesty. What's going on? Xian Ao's face darkened. Your Majesty, this barrier is too thick. It doesn't seem like an ordinary barrier. We have spent a great deal of effort, but we are still unable to destroy this barrier. General Zhang's face turned ugly. Hearing that, Xian Ao coldly snorted. The barrier can't be destroyed? Why don't you say you're incompetent? Trash! I will give you another half an incense stick of time. If you are unable to break the barrier, I will take your head and break it. When General Zhang heard this, his entire body trembled, and he hurriedly said in a low voice, Yes, Your Majesty, this general will definitely break through it in half an incense stick of time. Xian Ao snorted and did not say anything else. However, he did not leave either. He only stood quietly at the back, staring at the soldiers knocking on the barrier. However, this continued for more than 10 minutes, but the barrier still did not move at all. Xian Ao's face also darkened. It was not normal for a world entrance to have a barrier set up. Normally, it would only be done when the world was defending against a powerful enemy. However, this kind of action could only be done by the leader of a world. If the world was not unified, It would be impossible for a world entrance to be sealed, because no one had the authority to do so. Xian Ao naturally knew that the true devil realm had not been unified. Even though the true devil sect was like the sun in the sky, he had not made a move yet, and the true devil realm had not spread this news. Then, who was the one who set up this barrier? Disciple, what's going on? Why did the army stop moving? At this moment, the border flashed once again. The void spirit, saint holding a walking stick, walked over with a hunchback. Sage, Master, Xian Ao and the Virgin of the Rivers hurriedly bowed. Master, the entrance has been sealed. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for us to break through. Goddess of the Rivers said with some difficulty. Sealed by someone? The void spirit saint frowned and said, could it be that kid who did it? Maybe it's possible. That person even has a divine object. Maybe they guessed that we were coming, so they specially set up this barrier to prevent us from entering and stall for time. Xian Ao said in a deep voice. A deathbed struggle. The void spirit saint said coldly, all of you get out of the way. I will break this barrier. Xian Ao waved his hand. Get out of the way. When the general heard this, he already treated the void spirit saint as a bodhisattva. Since she wanted to go up, why would General Zhang insist? He quickly shouted, everyone get out of the way. Yes, sir. The soldiers all retreated, making room for the void spirit saint to walk towards the barrier. Boom! At this moment, a loud sound suddenly came from outside the barrier. Everyone was shocked. They anxiously looked forward, only to see the barrier in front of them suddenly emitting bursts of light. Soon after, the barrier started to flicker and then quickly dimmed down. Such a phenomenon was extremely shocking. A soldier quickly walked over and checked. He then cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, the barrier has disappeared. It disappeared? Xian Ao's eyebrows twitched. Everything was fine. Why did it disappear? The Virgin of the River was puzzled. If the barrier doesn't maintain its energy for a long time, it will dissipate. Furthermore, the barrier is so powerful, and the energy it consumes is also extremely large. The barrier left behind by that brat won't be able to stop us for long. The void spirit saint snorted, no matter what, disciple, lock onto that brat's position. We will enter the realm and look for him. Yes, sir. Master, the Virgin of the River said. Immediately, the Virgin of the River closed her eyes and activated her technique again. Everyone waited quietly. After a while, the Virgin of the River opened her eyes, her face revealing a look of deep shock. Disciple, what's wrong? The void spirit saint frowned and asked in a deep voice. This. The Virgin of the River hesitated for a moment, then closed her eyes to check on Su Yun's position, and then said with an ugly expression, Master, this disciple doesn't know what's going on. That person, he's right in front of us. Right in front? The void spirit saint and Xian Ao were both stunned. In front? What's going on? Could it be that that brat knew that we were coming and specially came here to welcome us? The void spirit saint sneered again and again. His walking stick clanged against the ground as he said, You don't have to be afraid. Follow me and take that brat's body and soul to refine pills for you. After she finished speaking, she walked forward. Although her figure was stooped and small, she was filled with an imposing manner. Seeing that, Xian Ao did not hesitate and followed along. Since the void spirit saint had already said that, was he still going to retreat? The Virgin of the River wanted to say something, but when the words reached her mouth, she couldn't say anything. However, the general roared, Advance! Immediately after, countless of Jiang Han's troops began to advance towards the entrance of the true devil realm. The Virgin of the River, Xian Ao, and the Void Spirit Saint were surrounded by a large number of experts from the Jiang country. The entire army was vast and mighty, with an imposing aura like a rainbow. My Jiang country's army has never crossed borders before. This is the first time we have mobilized so many people for the sake of this little thief who stole the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Xian Ao glanced at the troops on both sides and said, The Sovereign King is famous. In the future, he will rule over all realms. The Virgin of the River said. Xian Ao laughed out loud, but didn't say anything else as he walked forward. Although this was the territory of the true devil realm, Xian Ao believed that the various devil cultivators of the true devil realm would not go against the Jianghan realm because of such a person. However, the army in front suddenly slowed down as they walked. After taking a few more steps, the entire army stopped. Xian Ao immediately frowned. What's going on? What the hell was the person in front doing? Why did he stop? Hurry up and move forward. Faster. The leading general hurriedly stepped forward and shouted loudly. The soldiers behind him also whispered to each other as they tiptoed to take a look. They didn't know what was happening in front of them. The Void Spirit Saint's expression was somewhat ugly. Obviously, her patience was not good, and Xian Ao was about to wear out all of her patience. Perhaps we've encountered another barrier. Saint, please wait patiently. The army will continue to set off soon. Xian Ao seemed to have noticed the Void Spirit Saint's displeasure and quickly said, "Humph." The Void Spirit Saint snorted but did not say anything. However, after waiting for a while, the army still did not move. Not only did he not move, even the general who had gone ahead to scout did not return. Xian Ao was secretly shocked. He felt that something was wrong and immediately ran forward towards the front of the army. His footsteps were very fast, and the soldiers in front of him all made way for Xian Ao to walk past. At first, the soldiers were still suspicious and kept looking forward. However, when they reached the front, Xian Ao discovered that all the soldiers had stopped moving. It was as if they'd been petrified as they stared blankly at the front. What the hell happened? Xian Ao shouted sternly. "Ah yes, it's your majesty." The general was the first to regain his senses and quickly lowered his head. Why did the army stop moving forward? What had happened? Hurry up and advance. Faster. Xian Ao's eyes were filled with anger, and his voice was exceptionally cold. The general lowered his head, but did not say anything. He only waved his hand, and the soldiers in front of him immediately opened up a path. Xian Ao looked over. At that moment, it was as if he had been struck by lightning, and he froze on the spot. Devil Cultivator. His eyes were completely captivated by the scene in front of him. Devil Cultivator-S that covered the mountains and plains. There were countless Devil Cultivator-S. They were all around the entrance. Xian Ao stared blankly. His expression had completely frozen. The anger and hostility from before had long disappeared without a trace in the sky and on the ground. There were Devil Cultivator-S. All of them had strong and tall bodies, pairs of blood-red and ruthless demon eyes. The devil chi that filled the sky dyed the entire true devil realm pitch black, as if it was the end of the world. The soldiers at the front row were already trembling. They looked at the Devil Cultivator in fear. They did not dare to move forward anymore, and even started to retreat. In this kind of situation, how could they dare to move forward? All of you hold on. Hold on. Xian Ao came back to his senses, clenched his teeth, and growled. The general was stunned for a moment before he quickly shouted, "Hold on. Don't panic. Don't panic, you know. All of you calm down. All of you, advance and let the troops at the back in. Faster." His Majesty and the general had already spoken. No matter how afraid these soldiers were, they didn't dare to refute. The army was stuck at this narrow entrance, unable to advance or retreat. The situation would only get worse. One after another, Jiang Guojun began to walk out of the World Gate and arrange themselves outside. The people's formation was rather sloppy. Their attention was all focused on their surroundings. Their morale had already been shaken to the lowest point by the countless devil dwellers. Although Xian Ao did not bring all of the troops from the Jiang country with him, at least half of the elites had followed him, at least 100,000 of them. Compared to these densely packed devil cultivator, the army of the Jiang country was simply too weak. Chapter 843. The Void Spirit Saint and the Holy Mother of the River also walked out of the entrance. When the two of them saw the situation around them, their expressions immediately turned serious. Why are there so many demonic dwellers? What's going on? When Goddess of the Rivers saw the scenery in front of her, her face turned pale. For no reason at all. Why would so many Devil Cultivator-S gather at the entrance of the true devil realm? Are they defending against something? Or could it be that these demons were here to deal with Jiang Han? The generals quickly arranged the army. However, facing the fierce and ruthless devil dwellers from all directions, the Jiang Han army paled in comparison. The soldiers of the Jiang country trembled as they looked at the countless people in front of them. All of their hands that were holding onto their weapons started to tremble. The devil chi that rippled in the air was so thick that it could suffocate them. But at this moment, they could only brace themselves and stand there. Xian Ao's face was extremely ugly, and his heart was in chaos. Although he had led the army here, before he even entered the realm, he already had such a powerful force. Could it be that the devil cultivator knew that the Jiang country was coming, and specially set up a formation here? If that was the case, then the people of the devil world were too enthusiastic. However, Xian Ao never knew which power in the demon realm could have such a large army. The weakest of the devil cultivators here were all above the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, and the number of Spirit Emperors were even more uncountable. Whether it was in terms of numbers or individual strength, who knew where the Jiang country army had gone to, and how could they possibly contend against it? Don't be afraid. With me here, these demons won't be able to do anything to you. As if sensing the fear in the surrounding people, the Void Spirit Saint spoke. She walked over with the support of her walking stick. Her dim old eyes looked at everything around her, but there was not the slightest hint of fear. Instead, her face was filled with arrogance. The Void Spirit Saint's words finally gave Xian Ao some comfort. He cupped his fists and said, "With the saint here, Xian Ao is not afraid of the devil cultivator." Yes, the Void Spirit Saint nodded his head. Looking at the devil cultivatoress that cover the mountains and plains, he said, "But this is too abnormal. Why are there so many devil cultivators gathered here? Are they here to deal with us? If that's the case, then these devil dwellers are too cowardly. Such a big battle, it's really interesting." Her words were full of sarcasm, and she didn't try to cover it up. Her voice was slightly loud, and it traveled far. When the people of Jiang heard this, their tense nerves relaxed a little. Although they did not know what kind of existence the Void Spirit Saint was, seeing how respectful Xian Ao was towards him, they felt that he was definitely an extraordinary person. "Sovereign King, Master, that person is here." At this moment, the Virgin of the Rivers suddenly exclaimed in a low voice. When the two of them heard this, they immediately looked forward. The pitch-black tide of devil cultivator in the distance suddenly split open, and a group of devil cultivator walked over. The two people at the front were especially eye-catching. One of them was wearing a loose robe, and his face was not as sinister as the other devil cultivatoress. Instead, he was very delicate and pretty like a child, and the other person, it was the guy who had seized the dragon abyss bead. Su Yun. The person standing beside Su Yun slowly walked over. His movements were a little clumsy, and a faint smile hung on his face. When he was not far away from Xian Ao and the others, he stopped and said with a clear and pleasant voice, "Who are you?" "Stinking brat, who are you?" The Virgin of the River said indifferently. "Me? I'm a little devil cultivator." That guy gave a simple and honest smile. Only a ghost would believe it. Everyone despised him. He scratched the back of his head and said, "Then who are you? Why did you attack the barrier we set up? Are you guys going to attack the true devil realm? Bring so many people here, I'm so scared." Seeing the child's fearful expression, Xian Ao felt as if he had been underestimated. He immediately became angry and snorted. "I'm afraid we did not come here to seek the devil cultivator's bad luck, but to obtain an item for that guy." Xian Ao stared at Su Yun. "Oh, you're here for him?" That guy glanced at Su Yun, shrugged his shoulders, and said, "What did he take from you? Is there a need to muster such a large force?" "That belongs to me," Xian Ao growled. "I?" That guy's eyes widened as he said, "You call yourself Jin? Are you the king?" "I am the king of the Jiang country, the realm master of the Jianghan realm." Xian Ao snorted, his words revealing a sense of arrogance. "Wow, amazing! Amazing!" He revealed a look of shock, then sized up Xian Ao from head to toe, then shook his head. "But if you don't say it, I really can't tell that you are the king of the realm master. TKTSK. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. You. Xian'ao was instantly enraged. But even though you are the king, you can't just casually break the rules, can you? This is the true devil realm, and this enchantment was painstakingly set up by us. How can you casually make a move? That won't do. Then what do you want? Without waiting for Xian'ao to speak, the Void Spirit Saint snorted and said, "If my guess is correct, this is the famous vice sect leader of the Eight-Tooth sect, right?" "Oh, you know me?" That guy was stunned for a moment before he said, "Outsiders say that the appearance of the Eight-Tooth is completely different from the other demons, like a young child. The Devil Cultivator S here are all powerful, but their eyes are filled with respect when they look at you, so I guess that you're most likely Eight-Tooth." The Void Spirit Saint said unhurriedly. Hearing this, he clapped his hands and laughed. "You have good eyesight. You have guessed correctly. I am Octagon Aniseed. Hee. It's not as good as meeting you. The Eight-Toothed Sovereign is indeed as you said." The Void Spirit Saint chuckled. It was unknown whether it was praise or sarcasm. However, he didn't care at all. He stared at the Void Spirit Saint and the others and asked with a smile, "All right, let's not talk about this useless nonsense anymore. You guys should hurry up and give me an explanation." "Explanation? What explanation?" Xian'ao frowned. "Do you need me to say more?" Octagon Aniseed suddenly retracted his smile, revealing an ice-cold face in front of everyone. His voice was also filled with killing intent and hostility as he said coldly, "Who allowed you to attack the barrier set up by my devil sect? What? Are you choosing our true devil sect?" His words revealed an extremely domineering aura. As soon as these words fell, Xian'ao's face suddenly turned snow-white. He had defeated the army of the Han Empire and heavily injured the Han Empire. The strength of the Han Empire had already dropped to an unprecedented level, and swallowing the Han Empire to dominate the Jianghan realm was only a matter of time for him. However, he understood that even if he really became the realm master of the Jianghan realm, he would still not be able to contend against the real devil sect. This power, but even the supreme sect had been defeated. What a big hat! The Void Spirit Saint snorted. "We did not know that you had already used a barrier to seal the entrance. That's why we attacked. If you did not seal the realm, how could we do this? Furthermore, this old one did not come here to provoke the true devil sect, but to capture that brat. Eight-Toothed Sovereign, this old one does not like trouble, but is not afraid of trouble. We only want that Dragon Abyss bead. If you let him hand it over, we will immediately leave." "Dragon Abyss bead? I've been using it for a long time," Su Yin said indifferently. "What?" Xian'ao clenched his fists and looked at Su Yun with eyes filled with hatred. "Did you hear that? The Dragon Abyss bead has been used up, so we can't give you the Dragon Abyss bead. It doesn't matter if I use it," the Void Spirit Saint said solemnly. "As long as the Eight-Toothed Sovereign hands this person over to us, it will be the same. Give him to you?" When he heard this, his eyes suddenly turned blood red. The devil chi and baleful aura all over his body surged out like a flood. In that instant, his entire person became different, aggressive, and terrifying. In that instant, he was no longer courteous to these people. Instead, he was filled with hostility. The Void Spirit Saint's face changed slightly as he retreated. Xian'ao and the others were unable to resist the might and hastily retreated. The soldiers at the very front were already trembling from the aura, and some even fell to the ground. At the same time, all the devil cultivator-s that cover the mountains and plains stood up. Their demon eyes became even redder. Their devil chi became even stronger, and within the devil chi, there was also a terrifying killing intent. They walked down the hill and walked toward the entrance step by step. Their auras were oppressive, and their might was so strong that it was suffocating. The people of Jiang panicked. All of them moved toward Xian'ao, their formation almost collapsing. "Steady, all of you, steady yourself." The generals ran around, shouting loudly. No one could understand why these devil cultivator would be like this, and completely view these people of Jiang as their enemies. The Void Spirit Saint was the same. She had long since sensed that something was wrong. and her pair of dim old eyes stared intently at the 8 teeth. He only saw Octagon Aniseed raise his hand. In that moment, all the devil cultivator stopped moving and stood in place, looking at the people of Jiang. Octagon Aniseed looked at the Void Spirit Saint and said in a low voice, "Do you know who he is?" He pointed at Su Yun, but Su Yun's face was calm. The Void Spirit Saint raised his eyebrows. He heard Octagon Aniseed continue. "He is my true devil sex demon lord. Do you want us to hand the demon lord over?" His voice grew louder and louder, and by the time he reached the last 3 words, he was practically shouting them out. "Kill!" In that instant, all the devil cultivators that covered the mountains and plains were enraged, all of them shouting at the top of their lungs. The killing intent in the blood-red eyes seemed to be able to swallow all of the people of Jiang completely. He wanted the true devil sect to hand over the demon lord. How could the devil cultivator tolerate such a thing? The Void Spirit Saint was finally unable to calm down. She gripped her walking stick tightly and looked around with an ugly expression. At this moment, Xian Ao and the rest finally understood that the person who seized the Dragon Abyss bead was actually the demon lord of the true devil sect. Chapter 844. The shouts did not stop. These demons seemed to be enraged as they roared nonstop. Demonic chi dyed the sky so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. Jiang Guobing's vision was hazy, and he could only see that there were strong figures surrounding him. In terms of momentum, Jiang Guojun had already been utterly defeated. At this moment, even Xian Ao no longer had any confidence. Facing this infamous Demon Realm army, just relying on him alone was not enough. The Virgin of the River leaned close to him and stared at the surroundings. So that's how it is. I was wondering who would dare to be so bold as to run to the Jianghan realm alone to steal treasures. So it was the demon lord of the true devil sect. At this moment, the Void Spirit Saint spoke again with a hint of ridicule in his voice. He didn't say anything and continued to look at her. Being stared at by Octagon Aniseed, the Void Spirit Saint felt uncomfortable all over. She calmed herself down and said in a low voice, "However, since it's the demon lord of the true devil sect, then we have to give him some face. After all, your esteemed sect has gotten rid of the tumor that is the supreme sect for the entire universe. If my Jianghan realm were to become enemies with the true devil sect, then we would not be laughed at by others." With that, the Void Spirit Saint turned around, wanting Xian Ao to retreat. "Did I say you could leave?" At this moment, Octagon Aniseed suddenly snorted and said. As these words fell, the Void Spirit Saint's footsteps immediately froze. The demonic chi cultivators from all directions rushed towards the entrance. The soldiers there panicked and quickly retreated. Those who did not leave were killed by the demonic chi cultivators. They did not even have the strength to retaliate and were drowned by the countless demonic chi cultivators. These devil cultivators directly cut off the Jiang people's path of retreat and blocked the entrance to the demon realm. Such a scene clearly displayed the attitude of the true devil sect. Seeing that, Xian Ao immediately turned around, turned his head and stared at Octagon Aniseed and growled, "Octagon Aniseed, what are you doing? Are you declaring war on my Jiang country? A declaration of war?" Octagon Aniseed snorted. "A small Jianghan realm. Is it worth it for my true devil sect to declare war? You think too highly of yourselves. Also, can you afford to give face to my true devil sect?" His voice rose an octave. Today you dare to come to the true devil realm to choose us and humiliate me, the demon lord. Then he had to pay the price. Otherwise, if this matter were to spread out, how will my true devil sect have a foothold in the myriad of worlds?" As these words fell, it shocked everyone from Jianghan realm. "Then what do you want, 8-toothed sect master?" The Void Spirit Saint said in a deep voice. At this moment, she was no longer as arrogant and haughty as before. After all, she knew very well what kind of devil dweller this delicate and pretty fellow was. "What do I want?" Octagon Aniseed snorted and said coldly, "My idea is very simple, and that is to remove the hidden danger of my devil sect's demon lord without any worries. When these words came out, the Void Spirit Saint and the others felt as if their hair had stood on end, and they almost jumped up. What do you mean by that? 8 teeth. You want to kill us? The Void Spirit Saint was also shocked. I'm the king of the Jiang country. If I am killed by you, the entire Jianghan will view the true devil sect as an irreconcilable enemy, and the people of the 10,000 worlds will definitely condemn your true devil sect. 8 teeth. You can't do that. Xian Ao growled. However, Octagon Aniseed did not care. I feel like you guys don't seem to have recognized the current situation. He shook his head and said coldly, First, a small Jianghan realm. My true devil sect does not place it in my eyes. Even if this realm wants to be my enemy, I do not care. The more the true devil sect has, the less. Secondly, we have never cared about the condemnation of the people of the myriad heavens realm. In these past few years, have we, the devil cultivator, suffered a lot of condemnation? And the third, which is also the most important point. At this point, he paused for a moment. His eyes were so red that it seemed as if blood was about to drip out. His delicate and pretty face was already filled with malevolence. You have provoked my true devil sex, Demon Lord. How can I let you off? If the might of the Demon Lord is violated today, and we do not pursue the matter, how can my true devil sect still have a foothold in the myriad heavens realm? You kill. Such a word came out from his 8 teeth. His voice was dull, but when it landed in the ears of the people of Jiang, it was like a thunderclap. In that moment, all the devil cultivators from all directions raised their blades and rushed towards the people from the Jianghan realm. Xian'ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers immediately panicked. Su Yun was speechless. The feeling of hugging a thigh was really not bad. The Void Spirit Saint was not lightly angered. Her stooped body was trembling nonstop, and her dim yellow eyes were filled with anger. Good. As expected of the vice sect master of the true devil sect, he had guts. But you have to be clear, they are people from the Jianghan realm, but this old one is not. Octagon Aniseed. You can ignore the Jianghan realm, but do you dare to ignore the Divine Void Palace? Divine Void Palace? Octagon angrily snorted. I have never heard of this Divine Void Palace, nor do I know who you are. Today, I will only avenge the Demon Lord. I will not care about anything else. Divine Void Palace, right? After I take care of all of you, I will leave the realm entrance and destroy the Divine Void Palace. You, good, Octagon Aniseed. You are so arrogant and look down on everyone. Although you are famous, this old one might have a good fight with you today. The Void Spirit Saint shouted as he leaped towards Octagon Aniseed. Seeing this, Octagon Aniseed did not hold back and prepared to kill the Void Spirit Saint. But the moment he moved, a large hand suddenly pressed down on his shoulder. He turned his head to look, only to see that the owner of the hand was Su Yun. I'll do it. Su Yun threw out these 2 words and immediately leaped forward, attacking the Void Spirit Saint. Octagon Aniseed was startled. He laughed bitterly, but did not refute. He understood why Su Yun wanted to make a move, because this was his problem. He did not want to always rely on the true devil sect. In fact, Octagon Aniseed understood that if not for Su Yun, the true devil sect might have already fallen into a state of eternal damnation. Su Yun's movements were even more ruthless and ferocious. When he got close to the old lady, he immediately activated the Imperial Battle Robe and released his divine power, as though a giant's hand was grabbing towards the old lady. When the divine power first touched the old lady, she was shocked. She could feel that her profound chi was being devoured by this strange power at an astonishing speed, and immediately retreated, not daring to go forward. Su Yun casually threw out 2 flying swords, one immortal profound and the other tribulation fire. The white and red swords were like 2 streaks of light as they flew towards the old woman. The old woman's eyes shone with a golden light. She raised the walking stick in her hand, and a gray curtain appeared in front of her. Hua! The 2 swords were blocked and directly smashed onto the chi cover, causing a large amount of profound chi to ripple out. The chi cover did not move at all. Its defense was astonishing. The corner of the old woman's mouth curled up into a cold and disdainful smile. Seems like the demon lord of your true devil sect is only so. He didn't say anything. Suyin did not say anything. Fighting a war of words was actually the most unnecessary thing, because it was impossible for you to defeat those enemies with poor mental fortitude. As for those with strong mental fortitude, using this method would have no effect at all. Although Su Yun's cultivation was not at the level of a saint, he had experienced so much and understood quite a bit. If he wanted to defeat this void spirit saint, he could not hold back at all. The Tribulation Fire and Immortal Profound's first round of attacks failed, but they did not land on the ground. The sword was filled with profound chi and quickly controlled them to return. The two swords flew into the air, spinning quickly. As it spun, the profound chi on the Tribulation Fire sword became weaker and weaker, while the profound chi on the Immortal Profound sword became stronger and stronger. The immortal mystical scarlet blood sword was like a wheel of wind and fire, spinning crazily, while the Tribulation Fire sword slowed down and started to sway. It had lost its kinetic energy, and its power was greatly reduced. But at this time, the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword suddenly started to crazily clash with the Tribulation Fire sword. The Tribulation Fire sword that was about to fall seemed to have been reborn, as it regained its new posture. Seeing that, the Void Spirit Saint's heart trembled. She had never seen such a profound technique before, and did not understand why Su Yun was doing this. However, she understood that once Su Yun completed this technique, she would be facing an extremely terrifying technique. Immediately, the Void Spirit Saint no longer hesitated. He moved and rushed towards Su Yun. When she got close to the two swords, she suddenly stopped and opened her mouth. With an ah sound, she let out a sound wave. Octagon Aniseed's face suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Su Yun, be careful, it's a mental attack." However, Octagon Aniseed's words were still a beat too slow. The sound wave could not be resisted at all, and directly entered Su Yun's ears. In that moment, Su Yun felt ripples in the surrounding space, and everything disappeared in the blink of an eye. He understood that he had been dragged into an illusion. The Void Spirit Saint was the master of the Holy Mother of rivers and rivers, and his profound technique was used to perfection. Slowly, the surrounding scenery became snow white. There was nothing, and Su Yun was completely in this empty world. He, the demon lord of the true devil sect, is he such an incompetent person like you? It's really funny. An existence like you, it's better to erase it as soon as possible, so as to not embarrass the true devil sect, haha. A low and deep voice echoed in the empty world. It was the voice of the Void Spirit Saint. Su Yun did not say a word, and took out the Lotus Star sword from the sword sheath. This was the only thing he could rely on to fight against the mental technique. He raised his sword, closed his eyes, focused his mind, activated his idea, and muttered in his heart, "Break!" Hua! A ripple spread out in all directions. Dong! The empty world trembled a few times. What kind of sword was this? It can actually release mental techniques? The Void Spirit Saint was slightly surprised. However, she obviously did not want to waste any more time with Su Yun. Forget it, why ask? Why take back the sword from your hands? Oh no. With that said, a pitch black dot appeared in the empty world. Just 100 meters away from Su Yun, the black started to grow bigger and bigger and started to transform. In just a few breaths of time, it had already transformed into a human. Su Yun stared at the human figure. The sword in his hand clenched tighter and tighter, but after a moment, he was stunned. Chapter 845. The person that was formed from the black, that was dressed in a plain robe, holding onto an autumn water sword. Looking at it, it was Qing Air. Her dressing was almost exactly the same as when Su Yun had parted ways with her. With bright eyes and white teeth, her eyes looked at Su Yun, filled with gentleness. She did not show any hostility. She only looked at Su Yun a daze and walked towards him step by step. "Young master," that familiar voice came out from the sandalwood mouth. It was melodious and had an endless amount of meaning. "Chingo." Su Yun was startled, and blurted out, "Young master, it's me." A look of joy surfaced on Su Qing'er's face. He immediately quickened his pace and walked toward Su Yun. But just as she approached Su Yun, a snow-white sword pierced through her chest. Su Qing'er's body trembled. Then her strength dissipated, and she fell to the ground. She opened her eyes wide and stared blankly at Su Yun. Her red lips slightly opened, wanting to say something, but she couldn't. Good move. You've actually peeped into my memories without me noticing. However, even if that's the case, it's useless. If you want to defeat me with just this, I'm afraid you're going to waste your energy. Su Yun said indifferently and threw the sharp sword away. The fake Su Qing'er fell to the ground, blood flowing all over the ground, dyeing the snow-white world with a few rare colors. Young master, Su Qing'er raised her white hand and extended it towards Su Yun while trembling, but halfway through, her hand drooped down powerlessly. Her face was filled with endless confusion and fatigue, as well as uncountable pain. It was almost no different from a real person. What a brilliant, profound technique of the spirit. Su Yun's expression became somewhat ugly. He did not dare delay any longer. He picked up the Lotus Star sword and continued to activate the idea, wanted to break the Void Spirit Saint's profound technique as soon as possible and leave this place. However, this time, the activation of the Lotus Star Sword's idea did not cause any more turbulence in the world of the Void. Not only that, the surrounding scenery changed once again. The originally snow-white world gradually gained color. There was red, blue, green, purple, and then it began to take shape. There were mountains, water, flowers, grass. An iron door appeared in front of him. It was an iron door that was chained by thick chains. There were many exquisite houses in the surroundings. The sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the breeze was gentle. This was the entrance of the divine Cloud Immortal Palace that led to the ultimate martial world. After that, there were no more strange phenomena. The Su Qing'er, who was stabbed to death by Su Yun's sword, fell in front of the metal door. Her eyes were wide open, still staring at Su Yun. Motionless, her corpse was already cold. Reality, everything was so real that it struck one's heart. Su Yun felt that he was unable to concentrate. Even though he knew that all of this was fake, this strange scene continued to wreak havoc on him again and again. He felt as if his thoughts were in chaos, and his consciousness was in a mess. He felt as if he was starting to forget something, as if he had made a mistake. These were all the spells of the Void Spirit Saint. He constructed the void and played with people's souls in the palm of his hands. At this moment outside, Octagon Aniseed was still watching everything. The Void Spirit Saint was still urging his technique, but Su Yun was like a statue, standing motionlessly in front of the Void Spirit Saint. He held onto the Lotus Star Sword, and in an extremely far-away place, the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword and the Tribulation Fire Sword were still clashing. If Octagon Aniseed were to make a move now, the Void Spirit Saint would definitely die. But Octagon Aniseed did not make a move. He was still standing at the same spot, quietly watching everything with an incomparably serious expression. Actually, it wasn't that he didn't want to make a move, but that he couldn't. He understood that this was a hurdle, and if Su Yun couldn't even pass this hurdle, then his future path would be extremely difficult. If Octagon Aniseed could help him get through this crisis, then what about next time? Who would help him? A person's good luck could not accompany them for a lifetime, and the protection of others could not accompany them for a lifetime. Only by relying on oneself could one solve everything. In the distance, the Holy Mother of the River and Xian'ao were already surrounded by the experts of the Devil Cultivator. Jiang Guojun protected the two of them in the middle, repelling wave after wave of the Devil Army. How did they know that the fellow who stole the Dragon Abyss bead was actually the demon lord of the true Devil sect? It was even more impossible for them to know that they had chased after this person for thousands of miles, only to be surrounded by the Devil Cultivator army. Your Majesty, there are too many Devil Cultivator. We can't even retreat. Even if we kill one, there will be countless more Devil Cultivator rushing over. Our people can't hold on any longer. A general ran over in a sorry state and shouted at Xian'ao. Kill! Kill them! There are many devil cultivator-s. Kill them all! Kill! Xian'ao was anxious, his eyes were red, and his voice was hoarse, as if he had gone crazy. But just as he finished speaking, he was pulled back by the Virgin of the River. Your Majesty, you can't be impulsive. The Holy Mother of the River called out in a low voice. At the same time, she activated a mental mantra to stabilize Xian'ao's temper. Xian'ao was forced to calm down. He turned his head and stared at her. Don't be impulsive. What do you plan to do? Could it be that you are just going to watch these devil cultivator act presumptuously in front of me? Your Majesty, these are only demon dwellers, a group of uncivilized beings. Why are you so angry over them? The Holy Mother of the River shouted. The situation is critical now. The number of enemies far surpasses ours, and their strength cannot be underestimated. We must leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, if these devil cultivator were to injure His Majesty's dragon body, it would truly be a misfortune for the Jiang country, a misfortune for the Jianghan realm, and a misfortune for the people of the 10,000 realms. The Holy Mother of Jianghan tried her best to persuade him, and her advice was just right. Xian'ao seemed to be waiting for her to say this, waiting for her to step up. When he returned to the Jianghan realm in the future, he could also tell everyone that it was the Holy Mother who urged him to retreat, and not because he was afraid to fight. Since the Holy Mother has said so, I will not refute. Xian'ao said solemnly, pass down the order. Immediately break out of the encirclement and retreat. Return to the Jianghan territory. Understood. The general cupped his fists and immediately went to relay the order. Xian'ao took a deep breath and glanced at the battle around him. The coldness in his eyes became more and more intense. When I unify the Jianghan realm in the future, I will definitely avenge this blood feud. True Devil Sect, just you wait. He gritted his teeth and growled in a low voice. The Sovereign King's heavenly might is vast and mighty. No one can match him. This wish will definitely come true. The Holy Mother of the River said, let's break out of the encirclement first. Xian'ao took a deep breath. His gaze suddenly turned to the void spirit saint in the distance and asked, then, if we leave, what should your master do? She seems to be in a stalemate, and I'm afraid she won't be able to leave for a while. Master's mana is extremely high. These devil cultivator-s will definitely not be able to keep her here. We can leave first. Master will definitely understand. Good. In that case, let's set off now. Xian'ao nodded, then berated the troops to break out of the encirclement with all their might. The soldiers of the Jiang country did not want to stay here for a long time. All of them retreated towards the border like crazy. But there were also a lot of devil cultivator-s there. They were like an iron wall blocking the retreat of the people of the Jiang country. Your Majesty, the cultivation of these devil cultivator is too high. It's very difficult for us to break out. When the commander saw that several waves of attacks had been intercepted, he immediately turned his head and shouted at Xian'ao. Is it difficult to break out? Xian'ao's face changed. You trash. What do I usually raise you for? If you can't even deal with a few small devil cultivator-s, what use do I have for you all? But, Your Majesty, Sovereign King Mou, a mere devil cultivator is nothing to worry about. Wait for me to tear open a hole and help the army retreat. The Virgin of the River shouted as she leaped up and rushed towards the border. As she hovered in the air, a large amount of mental energy rippled out from her body, directly covering all directions. When the devil cultivator-s suffered the attack of the sound wave, they retreated a few steps back, all of them hugging their heads, their faces filled with pain. Humph! A mop! Seeing this, the goddess of the river said coldly, everyone retreat. Xian'ao took advantage of the situation and shouted loudly. Seeing that, Jiang Guojun was overjoyed and immediately rushed towards the border. Retreat? Is this a place where you can come and go as you please? At this moment, a cold voice suddenly floated over from afar. When the goddess of the river heard this, her face changed. She suddenly turned her head, and before she could react, a blood-red force shot over. Bang! The Holy Mother of the River didn't have time to defend and was directly struck in the chest by the force. She was immediately sent flying and smashed into a mountain not far away. The force of the collision spread out, and the pitch-black mountain instantly turned into gravel and disappeared. Before the Holy Mother of the River could stand up, she spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. She stood up with difficulty and saw a pitch-black figure floating in the sky not far away. She immediately asked in a low voice, "Who is it?" "The second elder of the true devil sect, the second demon," the man said indifferently. "So it's an expert from the true devil sect." The Virgin of the River gritted her teeth and said, "Come, let me see how capable you, a person who treats us as a mob, is." The two devils hooked their fingers at the Holy Mother of the River and said arrogantly, "Heh, you will regret it." The Holy Mother of the River said coldly. She then leaped up and pounced towards the two devils. The two of them fought chaotically in the dark sky, profound chi overflowing in all directions. The battle was intense, and, for a moment, it was hard to separate them. With the Holy Mother of the River entangled, Xin Ao was isolated and helpless. It will be difficult to break through the boundary with just these Jianghu soldiers, but if the boundary did not open, he and the others would definitely be devoured by the true devil realm. "No, I can't die here yet. I have just unified the Jianghan realm." He clenched his fists, his heart filled with unwillingness. In the end, he quietly took out a silver-white stone with purple patterns from the golden space bag at his waist. This was a teleportation stone that could help him teleport back to the Jianghan realm and help him escape from this hellish place. However, this stone could only be used once, and it could only be used by one person. He gripped the stone tightly as he nervously looked around. Chapter 846. Young Master. The gentle and sorrowful voice once again sounded in Su Yun's ears. Su Yun, who was still holding onto the lotus star, sword gasped for breath as he looked towards the source of the voice. Not far away, Su Qing'er's figure appeared once again. The corpses on the ground had already disappeared, and the surrounding scenery had changed. It was no longer the scene of the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace's Iron Gate, but the simple and crude wooden house outside, the Su family. Su Yun himself had also changed. He was no longer wearing a pitch-black robe, but the coarse linen clothes he had worn in the Su family. Su Qing'er, who was dressed in luxurious clothes, walked over briskly. Her eyes were always fixated on Su Yun, so gentle, so kind. Everything seemed to have returned to the past, back to the past. All of this was too real. It was hard to believe that this was just an illusion created by the Void Spirit Saint. "Young Master, what's wrong? Why aren't you talking?" Su Qing'er held onto Su Yun's arm and said with a crooked neck. His appearance was innocent and his tone was natural, causing the hearts of those who heard him to tremble. But in the next second, a sharp sword pierced through her chest again. Su Yun closed his eyes and thrusted the sword down. "Ugh, young master." Su Qing'er trembled a few times, then fell to the ground again, blood staining the clothes on her chest red. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at the person in front of her in disbelief. Her face was filled with surprise as she pursed her blood-red lips and said powerlessly, "Why? Young master, why did you kill Qing'er? Cough cough. Did Qing'er do something wrong? All right, Void Spirit Saint, if you have any other moves, then use them." Su Yun did not care about the fake Su Qing'er beside him. His voice gradually turned cold, and his eyes slowly turned red. However, there was still no movement from the surroundings. Su Yun's face became sinister. The imposter beside her was on the verge of death, but her hands were still tightly grabbing onto Su Yun. In the next second, the Lotus Star sword appeared again and directly beheaded the imposter. The current Su Yun's entire body was filled with baleful aura to the point that it was suffocating. He gripped his sword tightly and glared at his surroundings. The changes in his surroundings were constantly stimulating his nerves. He roared. He was in pain. His voice was deep, stern, and cold. "Do you know what you're doing?" There was still no sound. However, Su Yun was already completely restless. You should not have used Qing air to provoke me. Void Spirit Saint, you will regret using such an illusion technique. He held onto the Lotus Star sword and waved it crazily in the distance. He didn't hold back at all. Profound chi, strength, and even the divine power within the Imperial Battle Robe were all activated by him. The Lotus Star sword quickly released a seven-colored light, and with an extremely terrifying might, it shot into the distance. Whoosh! Intense white light burst forth from the sword and crashed into the void. Dong! Everything in the surroundings suddenly began to tremble violently. The scene was like a sand dune that had been shaken away, quickly disappearing. Everything once again returned to the snow-white and empty scene. But very quickly, the surroundings began to distort once again. It seemed like the Void Spirit Saint was preparing to cast some sort of mental spell. However, Su Yun had already started a counterattack. He held onto the Lotus Star sword tightly, frantically activating his mind instructs. In a second, he did not even consider whether or not his body could withstand the activation of so many mind instructs. In a second, he only saw waves after waves of mental energy explode from the sword body, crazily bombarding his surroundings. The pale white world trembled even more violently, and the scene that had been solidified by the Void Spirit Saint was also dispersed in the blink of an eye. She was simply unable to withstand Su Yun's berserk power. Gradually, Su Yun could not hold on any longer, but he still gritted his teeth and persevered. He didn't want to see that scene. He didn't want to see Qing'er killed by him even more. Although he knew that it was fake, that kind of fake was incomparably real. Qing'er had always been a taboo in his heart, and no one could offend him. However, the Void Spirit Saint's actions today had made him incomparably furious. He thought of his previous life, and thought of Qing'er's desolate and miserable grave. This was like a needle piercing into his heart. Why? Suddenly, a gust of wind blew in the world. The gust of wind attacked, and actually started to block the overflowing spirit undulations from the Lotus Star sword. They surrounded the spirit wave and quickly shrank, forcing it. And when it was forced to Su Yun's surroundings, the pale white world started to quickly form a scene. How would you feel if you killed the person you loved the most over and over again? Even if it was fake, he could not be completely indifferent. Although Su Yun had already become bedeviled, he could not abandon his emotions and desires. Otherwise, wouldn't he be like a walking corpse? Young master. After the world was completed, Qing'er's voice came from afar again. She stood in front of a pavilion, holding a fruit basket in her hand, and waved at Su Yun. That forced and tired smile was so powerless, so real. Su Yun clenched his teeth and closed his eyes. I don't want to see. I don't want to remember. I don't want to understand. He hated the Void Spirit Saint even more. He was getting angrier. The Void Spirit Saint's actions were like a hammer, attacking the line of defense in his heart again and again. Qing'er moved. With a face full of doubt, he walked towards Su Yun step by step. Young master? Why aren't you talking? Come over quickly. Qing'er picked some spirit fruits. Come and eat them. It might be helpful to your cultivation. As she spoke, she walked towards Su Yun. However, this Qing'er was completely different from before. Inside the fruit basket, a flash of light flashed. It was a sharp dagger. Young master, are you feeling unwell? Qing'er said with a face full of concern. Her snow-white hands had already gently extended towards the fruit basket. Su Yun sensed the cold light. However, he did not make a move, nor did he defend himself. He only closed his eyes and began to think. His chest hurt, a heart-wrenching pain. He opened his eyes slightly. He saw Qing'er standing in front of him with a sinister smile on his face. A dagger had already pierced through his chest. However, Su Yun was not afraid. In this fictional world, if I can't kill you, you can't kill me either. He took a deep breath. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was twisted. The Void Spirit Saint had only done this to completely destroy his mentality. However, she had underestimated Su Yun's will. I think it's time for us to end this. He closed his eyes again, and his brain began to think back. He did not think about Qing'er anymore, nor did he think about anyone else. At this moment, his mind and consciousness were only recalling one thing: the matter of rebirth. thinking back to his previous life in the Sioux family, thinking back to being bullied and humiliated, thinking back to visiting all the experts in the famous mountains, thinking back to escaping into the Devil Dow, thinking back to fighting with the saints, and then thinking back to his rebirth. What's going on? Finally, a cry of surprise came from the fake world. Obviously, the Void Spirit Saint had sensed something unbelievable from Su Yun's memories. Hearing that, Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He immediately activated his body, released the profound strength, and struck towards the void in the distance. The profound chi crashed into the void and immediately disappeared. However, in the next second, whoosh, everything in the surroundings suddenly shattered like broken glass and dissipated. Su Yun once again returned to the sky above the true devil sect. The surroundings were still chaotic, but there was a vacuum around him and the Void Spirit Saint. Neither the Devil Cultivator nor Jiang Guojun came close. Octagon Aniseed stood not far from the two of them and watched. Su Yun held onto the Lotus Star Sword and stood there quietly. In front of him, the Void Spirit Saint's chest had already been pierced through by a pale white sword. The sword's power was extremely great, directly piercing through her chest. The power tore her chest apart, and cracks began to spread all over her stooped body. This was the Tribulation Fire Sword. The Void Spirit Saint opened his eyes wide, staring blankly at Su Yun, his eyes filled with shock. What's going on? Why are you still able to attack me in the illusion? The Void Spirit Saint's voice became weak as he spoke in shock and unwillingness. She attempted to use the illusion to destroy Su Yun's mind, turning him into an idiot and a madman. However, Su Yun's willpower was shockingly strong. She had peeped into a portion of Su Yun's memories and discovered that everything this guy had experienced was simply unimaginable. I can't attack you. Even the sword in my hand can't hurt you. However, that doesn't mean that you are an invincible existence. Su Yun said indifferently. Those two swords are not in the illusion. They have always been behind you. But you can't control them. You don't even know where I am. When the Void Spirit Saint heard this, it was as if he had been revived from the dead, and his eyes suddenly widened. Your voice revealed your location. So that's how it is. The reason why you suddenly presented those memories to me just now was to lock onto my position. If your mind is firm, I won't be able to do it. But even so, the illusion will block your profound chi. But in reality, it can't be completely blocked, Su Yun said indifferently. I only need a single strand of profound chi to kill you. Liar, liar, you must have used some other technique. The Void Spirit Saint roared. How can a sliver of profound chi control a sword to kill me? It's not my imperial sword. Su Yun shook his head, his blood-red eyes staring at the Void Spirit Saint. It's the imperial sword technique. Sword imperial sword? The Void Spirit Saint was stunned. Su Yun's little profound chi was not of much use at all. Forget about controlling the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword outside. He could not even give it the simplest order. However, there was still a powerful sword beside, the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword. The moment he locked onto the Void Spirit Saint, he had only changed the position of the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword edge. The powerful sword moved slightly and struck the Tribulation Fire Sword. The Tribulation Fire Sword immediately moved and attacked the Void Spirit Saint. Restraining the Spirit Profound technique did not necessarily require one to use the Spirit Profound technique to fight against it. As long as one grabbed the source and killed the leader, the technique would collapse on its own. Octagon Aniseed did not say anything, but the eyes that looked at Su Yun were filled with admiration. Then, it's time to pay the price for everything you did before. Su Yun said coldly. His body moved and instantly appeared in front of the Void Spirit Saint. He stretched out his hand, grabbed the old woman, and lifted her up. The Void Spirit Saint struggled frantically, but to no avail. Chapter 847. Octagon Aniseed did not know what spell the Void Spirit Saint had used on Su Yun. He only saw that Su Yun had broken out of the illusion and was filled with killing intent. Although he was a little worried about Su Yun before, when he saw the two swords floating behind the Void Spirit Saint, he was no longer that worried. He did not think that Su Yun had unintentionally placed them there. Not to mention that the two swords did not reveal much of an attack, but instead had a coexisting feeling. At this moment, the Void Spirit Saint's Chi Meridian was broken, and all of her profound Chi was quickly dissipating. Furthermore, she was being suppressed by Su Yun, and being so close to him, even if her profound Chi did not dissipate, it would still be devoured by Su Yun. The Void Spirit Saint kicked his legs and struggled, but he was powerless. She opened her dim yellow eyes and looked at Su Yun powerlessly. Who exactly are you? Saint? Is it the reincarnation of a saint? She had peeped into Su Yun's memories and knew that Su Yun was someone who had been reborn, but other than a saint, who else had such a sacred art to be reborn? Not to mention, Su Yun's rebirth was not as simple as soul transfer. His rebirth was a reversal of time. Time flowed back. Perhaps even a saint would not be able to do this. Me? Su Yun's eyes revealed a sinister look. It has nothing to do with you. As his voice fell, he suddenly tightened his grip. Crack! The Void Spirit Saint's neck was immediately broken. The tribulation fire in her chest immediately ignited her entire body, burning her soul along with it. The Void Spirit Saint had fallen. Almost impossible to resist. After losing her powerful mental spell, how weak was she? Su Yun slowly put down his hand. The killing intent in his eyes had not dissipated, and only after a long while did he turn around. The surroundings returned to silence, but the sounds of fighting in the distance still did not stop. The Holy Mother of the River, who was still fighting with the two devils, seemed to have sensed something and suddenly turned her head. However, what she saw was the corpse of the Void Spirit Saint that had been burned by the tribulation fire. The Holy Mother of the River immediately let out a miserable cry, but her distraction gave the two devils an opportunity to take advantage of it. A devil palm immediately struck her body, and like a kite with its string cut, she fell from the sky. When she fell to the ground, she was already on the verge of death. Xian'ao was nowhere to be seen. The Jiang country had lost its leader, and the morale of the army was in chaos. It had already been defeated, and the corpses on the ground belonged to the people of Jiang country. The battle had already been decided. There wasn't much suspense in the first place. You were originally not her match, but it's a pity that she was too careless. Otherwise, this battle would have continued for a while longer. Octagon Aniseed said as he walked over. Su Yun did not say anything. Octagon Aniseed revealed a smile, stood on his tiptoes and patted his shoulder, saying, "All right, my lord Demon Lord, he is already dead. We should go back." "Where to?" "Oh, the ancient tomb. The master has been reminding me every single day. If you don't go, I'm going to be punished." "What does my going to the ancient tomb have to do with your punishment?" "It's a long story. Let's talk as we walk." "What do we do here?" "RMO will handle it." "How should we deal with it?" "What else can I do?" Octagon Aniseed said coldly, "Since you have offended my sex, Demon Lord, there is no other way to make up for it other than death." Hearing that, Su Yun's expression did not change, but a trace of inexplicable feeling surfaced in his heart. Why is Octagon Aniseed protecting me like this? Is it really because I am the Demon Lord of the true Devil Sect? Although Su Yun was very grateful to Octagon Aniseed, he did not feel that there was anything about his body that was worth Octagon Aniseed's protection. Of course, in terms of appearance, Su Yun was still pretty good. The two of them immediately left the camp at the entrance and rushed towards the true Devil Sect. With so many Devil Cultivator-s surrounding them, it was impossible for the people of Jiang to escape. Octagon Aniseed's movements were very fast, and Su Yun could tell that he was rather anxious. What kind of place is the ancient tomb? On the way, Su Yun could not help but ask. The cenotaph of the great devils of the true Devil Sect. Cenotaph? Yes, because their whereabouts are unknown. Some of the great devils might have already perished. Some of the great devils might have stepped into a higher level. Some of them are hiding in ordinary realms. Some of them have ascended to the ninth heaven. And without exception, They're not in the True Devil sect, but they have left behind precious treasures for the True Devil sect. Inside the ancient tomb, there are countless treasures left behind by the powerful devil cultivator, and instead of calling it an ancient tomb, it is more like a huge treasure trove. Octagon Aniseed said. What? Su Yun secretly frowned. If that's the case, then there must be a peerless magic treasure in the ancient tomb? With such a treasure trove, why didn't you open it earlier for the sect to enjoy? If that's the case, I am naturally willing. However, the ancestor has already passed down a rule that the people of the True Devil sect are not allowed to enter the ancient tomb, not even the sect master. Only one person can enter. Demon Lord? Suyin squinted his eyes. That's right. Why don't you become the Demon Lord? Without me and my fate, I will not be able to complete the sacrifice, and so will the sect master. Do you believe in fate? I don't believe it. Then why did you say such a thing? Octagon Aniseed smiled, but did not continue. He looked at the dark sky in the distance and took a deep breath. After a long while, he said, Demon Lord, do you still not understand? Regardless of whether it is the vicious devil or the good devil, none of them believe in fate. If they believe in fate, can they still be called devils? Suyin closed his eyes, the past events replaying in his mind. If he believed in fate and let nature take its course, how could it change? If he didn't want to change his tragic fate, he would create a tragic life. But what did Octagon Aniseed mean by I am not fated to be? This trip to the ancient tomb is not only the teachings of our ancestor, but also our high hopes for you. He turned his head, his bright eyes staring at Su Yun with passion, his delicate and pretty face extremely serious. Lord Demon Lord, the Immortal Seeking Sect is using the Supreme Sect's name to attack the True Devil Realm. If there is no Supreme Expert to lead the resistance, my True Devil Realm will not have the strength to fight back. Isn't it fine for you? I'm just a small Vice Sect leader. You're still young. Am I not young? Octagon Aniseed rubbed his head, tilted his neck, and looked at Su Yun with an innocent look. Su Yun really wanted to ruthlessly knock him on the head. What about the sect leader? He's young too. Stop bullshitting me. In the end, you guys just want me to lead the True Devil Realm to fight against the Immortal Seeking Sect, right? How is this possible? Octagon Aniseed shook his head and laughed. Even if it's a half-immortal sect, it's still an immortal. Lord Demon Lord, it's impossible for you to completely inherit the great devil's inheritance in such a hurry. If you were to stand out, I'm afraid there would be endless trouble. Then what do you want? Let's create one first. Octagon Aniseed laughed. I've already sent people to spread the news of the destruction of the Supreme Sect. As for who destroyed it, I have also secretly revealed it. It is the Realm Lord of my True Devil Realm. True Devil Realm has a Realm Lord? Nonsense. The problem is that outsiders don't know about it. Your ability to bullshit is pretty good. Average. Octagon Aniseed chuckled. Now that I have integrated the powers of the True Devil Realm, no matter if it is the vicious demon or the good demon, none of them dare to fight with each other. The True Devil Realm already has the power to unify the world, and this is something that has never happened before. So when I say that the Realm Lord of the True Devil Realm exists, many people will still believe me, because the disappearance of the Supreme Sect is the only explanation. The appearance of the True Devil Realm Lord can garner the support of many realm powers. The True Devil Realm has eliminated the Supreme Sect, and its reputation is great, but everything has its pros and cons, and it will definitely attract the hatred of others. You have to be on guard, Su Yun said. So, the sect leader hopes that you can immediately enter the ancient tomb and obtain the inheritance of the great demons. See if there is anything left behind by the great demons that can save this crisis. If not, how should I deal with it? No. Octagon Aniseed lowered his head and started to think. A moment later, he shook his head. I don't care if there isn't. Then let the sect leader think of a way. These past few days, I have almost broken my legs for the safety of the True Devil Realm, and he's been sleeping comfortably in the cultivation grounds every day. It's not fair. It's too unfair. I don't care anymore. You're not working for the True Devil Sect. You are responsible for the True Devil Sect. Isn't it the same to work and be in charge? I'm really tired of throwing so many messes at me. Octagon Aniseed exhaled, a trace of indignation appearing on his face. Then let the sect leader give you some benefits. Suyin said, What benefits can he give me? Medicinal pills? He uses that for himself. How about a beautiful woman suitable for dual cultivation? Ugh, I don't want this thing, Lord Devil Lord. What are you thinking about all day? Octagon Aniseed's face suddenly turned red. It was unknown if it was real or not, but Suyin felt that it was very strange. Could this guy also blush? The two of them pulled at each other and finally arrived at the true Devil Sect. The current Devil Sect could be said to be completely different from before Suyin left. There were a large number of devil cultivators south all around the place. All of them were lying on the ground, either drawing imprints or setting up array sources. From the looks of it, they seemed to be building a barrier. Around the true Devil Sect, there were more than 100 huge, pitch-black statues. These statues were all ferocious beasts from the demon realm, made of pitch-black magic stones, and their surfaces were inlaid with crystals that contained surging energy. Each of them was close to 30 meters tall. Octagon Aniseed ordered his men to arrange these statues in a formation, with the true Devil Sect as the array source. He set up a huge formation. There were still a large number of experts guarding the sect, and every single person from the true Devil Sect was working in an orderly manner. Seeing that, Suyin understood. The people from the Immortal Seeking sect might not be as simple as he had imagined. Vice Sect Leader, Lord Devil Lord. On the way, when the people from the true Devil Sect saw the two of them coming over, they all stopped what they were doing and cupped their fists to greet them. There's no need to bow. Everyone, let's get busy first. Octagon Aniseed said. Yes, Sect Leader. Everyone called out, and then continued to work. Time was tight. The enemy that the true Devil Realm was facing was not a small matter. Every minute and second was crucial. After Octagon Aniseed walked into the true Devil Sect, his face did not look relaxed. Perhaps on the way, he could not see such a scene, so his mood improved a little. He did not beat around the bush and directly led Suyin towards the ancient tomb. It was located at the back of the true Devil Sect's Forbidden Grounds. In terms of Forbidden Grounds, this ancient tomb could be considered the true Forbidden Grounds of the true Devil Sect. No one was allowed to set foot in it, except for the Demon Lord. Chapter 848. The guards of the Forbidden Grounds opened the sealing enchantment and let the two in. Octagon Aniseed led Suyin through the Forbidden Grounds where the prisoners of the true Devil Sect were imprisoned, and arrived at a huge, empty space at the back. This place was completely empty. In the distance, there were pitch-black walls, but in the middle of this empty space, there was a towering white bone altar. The altar was already in ruins. There were 4 huge vertebrae around it, but they were all rotten. They looked as if they would fall and shatter in the next second. Octagon Aniseed stood at the edge of the empty space and stopped in his tracks. I cannot go against the teachings of my ancestors. I cannot advance any further. Lord Demon Lord, you will have to walk the rest of the way yourself. Yes. Suyin nodded. He walked around the altar that was made of bones, then turned his head to look at the 8 teeth and extended his hand. What's wrong? Octagon Aniseed was puzzled. Where's the door? Oh, found it. Suyun's eyes moved closer to a small tombstone at the side of the altar. There was a crack in the tombstone, and with a touch, the tombstone would automatically open up, and a long staircase appeared in front of Suyin. Is this the entrance to the ancient tomb? That's right. Speaking of which, won't my life be in danger if I go in? How could I joke around with the Demon Lord's life? Octagon Aniseed was speechless. Oh, that's good. Suyin laughed. Then I'll go down first, go early, and come back early. You tricked me into coming back to settle the score? Suyin suddenly said. Hearing that, Octagon Aniseed's entire body trembled. He immediately scratched his head and laughed, but a few drops of sweat appeared on his forehead. However, Suyin had already walked down the stairs and could not be seen. Why would I trick you? With so many opportunities, it all depends on whether you cherish them or not. How many people want to enter but can't? Octagon Aniseed muttered, then quickly turned around and ran away. Drip, drip, drip as he walked down the stairs. Waves of strange sounds came from the pitch-black ancient tomb. It sounded like the sound of water droplets. Suyin opened his eyes wide. Although it was pitch black, he could see everything. The stairs were very long, about a few thousand meters. Suyin did not walk very fast, taking one step at a time. He walked for a full 10 minutes. At the end of the stairs was a small door. The door was made of iron. On the door was a relief that looked like a tiger, but not a tiger, but not a leopard, but not a leopard. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, its two copper eyes staring in the direction of the stairs. When Suyin walked down, the sculpture immediately moved, jumped out of the iron door, and stood in front of Suyin. Seeing that, Suyun's expression tensed up and immediately pulled out the death sword. After consuming the dragon abyssal bead, the evil aura was dissolved. He did not need the Lotus Star Sword effect, so he used the most powerful death sword as his main weapon. No one could sense any chi from the sculpture. Its strength was probably above the Spirit Emperor. It was so strong that it made people's hearts jump. At the moment, Suyun's heart was already racing. Fighting with this guy in such a narrow place, he would most likely not be able to gain any advantage. If it guarded the door and did not let him in, it would be very difficult for him to step into the ancient tomb. However, the sculpture did not seem to have any hostility. It circled around Suyun, sniffed the scent on his body, and directly said, "You have already accepted the baptism of the sacrifice. You are the demon lord of the true devil sect. You have the qualifications to enter the ancient tomb. Please enter." His voice was hoarse and dull. With that, the sculpture walked to the side of the door and prostrated itself. The iron door opened on its own with a rumbling sound. Suyun was startled. Looking at the sculpture, he felt that it was inconceivable. Speaking of which, when Suyun saw it, he thought of the wooden leopard in the ultimate martial sacred plane. When he had time, he would have to go back and take a look at that silly leopard. "Who are you?" Suyun could not help but ask. He knew nothing about the ancient tomb, so he wanted to get some information about the ancient tomb from the sculpture. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no movement from the sculpture, nor was there any sound. Suyun was startled. He asked a few more questions, but the sculpture completely ignored him. Suyun still gave up in the end. He did not have much time. He had to quickly enter the ancient tomb and obtain the power of the great demons. Without hesitation, he walked over to them. After entering the iron door, his vision immediately widened. In front of Suyun was a long road. The ground was covered with white bones, and on both sides of the long road, there were many pitch-black statues. He slowly walked over, his gaze landing on the statues. These statues were bizarre and dazzling. Some were no different from humans, while others were very different from ordinary people. However, they all had one thing in common, and that was that they were all wearing all kinds of clothes, with weapons hanging from their necks. Some of them even had spatial bags tied to their waists. Was this the cenotaph of those great demons? Presumably, these statues were carved according to the appearance of those great demons, right? Suyun carefully sized up the first statue. This statue was extremely mighty, about 3 meters tall. Its appearance was sinister and terrifying. There was a horn on his head. One eye was open, one eye was closed. It was very strange, and his face was covered with worm-like scars. His body was abnormally thick. His muscles were bulging. The stone body was also covered with a thick layer of armor. It was especially heavy. There was a large blade at his waist. It was mighty and domineering. Octagon Aniseed asked Suyun to come down and inherit the great magic treasure profound technique, but he did not specifically tell him what to do, so he could only figure out himself. These statues should be just ordinary statues, right? The important thing was the magic tools on their bodies and the treasures in the space bag. Suyun took a deep breath and walked towards the big-sized man. However, the moment he got close to the statue, he heard a clanging sound and a terrifying pressure came crashing towards him. Suyun's heart jumped. He immediately retreated. Before he could even react, a terrifying blade smashed in front of him, directly cutting the white bones in front of him. A terrifying demonic intent rippled out from the blade. Seeing that, Suyun broke out in cold sweat. What was going on? He looked around, but there was no one around. That relief sculpture? He turned his head, only to see that on the other side of the metal door, the relief sculpture had long since returned to the metal door. It did not come down at all, and it was even more impossible for it to attack Su Yun. Then who did it? He held the death sword tightly and re-examined the statue in front of him. However, with just a glance, he was stunned. The saber was the one worn on the statue's waist. The statue did not move, but a strange demonic aura floated around its body. The demonic aura gathered at the side of the statue and quickly condensed into a pitch-black human figure. What the hell is this? Su Yun took a few steps back and stared with his eyes wide open. However, the pitch-black humanoid devil Chi did not seem to know how to speak. It directly grabbed the demonic blade on the ground and fiercely slashed toward Su Yun. Dong! Su Yun reacted as fast as lightning. He raised the death sword with one hand and blocked with the sword horizontally. The blade edge smashed onto the sword body, and the surging power immediately leaked out, causing the white bones on the ground to shatter, and the robe on Su Yun's body also fluttered from the strong wind. Damn it! Why didn't that eight-toothed brat tell me that there was such a thing? Su Yun clenched his teeth. He had already decided to settle the score with Octagon Aniseed when he got out, but now was not the time to think about this. The demon shadow seemed to have already determined him as an enemy. If he did not defeat it, forget about taking the statues of the great demons. He might not even be able to keep his own life. The demon shadow's power was enormous, but after absorbing the dragon abyss bead, dispelling the evil chi, and digesting the supreme sect lord, Su Yun was no longer the same as before. Even though the opponent's strength was astonishing, he was not afraid, and with his other hand, he directly wiped the sword sheath, and a snow-white light appeared in his left hand. Lotus Star Sword. Instantly, with a low shout, a mind instructs in a second. Su Yun, who was fighting against the demon blade, instantly disappeared. When he appeared, he was already standing behind the demon shadow, and a sharp sword had already pierced through its chest. Buffed. Although it was a demonic shadow, it seemed to be injured by these sword blades. When the death sword pierced through, the density of the demonic shadow immediately dimmed a bit. However, the demon shadow did not feel any pain at all, and as if it did not know that Su Yun had already given it a sword, in the next second, the demon shadow's blade flew towards Su Yun. Bang! The blade landed on his body, and he was sent flying, crashing into a wall in the distance. The violent force shook his body until it was buzzing. This was an attack that was launched against him with complete strength. There was not much devil chi left. If not for the Imperial battle robe, this sword strike would have been enough to shatter Su Yun into pieces. He tried his best to stand up, feeling that his body was still a little numb. He raised his head to look at the demonic shadow, only to see it slowly walking to the side of the statue, reaching out its hand to caress the statue. In an instant, the originally dim body immediately turned black again. Strength recovery. Seeing that, Su Yun felt uncomfortable. Damn it, this guy just needs to touch the statue, and he'll be able to reach his peak state? In other words, if he wanted to defeat this guy, he had to prevent it from getting close to the statue. This was not a simple matter. With the recovery of the statue, the demon shadow was once again in high spirits, but it was not in a hurry to attack Su Yun. Instead, it took off a helmet from the statue and wore it, then rushed towards Su Yun. Seeing that, Su Yun was startled. Does this guy still know how to use the equipment of the great demons? Wouldn't it be like adding wings to a tiger, and his strength would become even more powerful? However, the situation was urgent, and there was no time to think. He immediately took action and faced the attack. Dong! 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 Without the Imperial battle robe, it would be difficult for Su Yun to even receive a single slash. He retreated as he fought, his eyes focused on the blade of the demon shadow, observing the trajectory of the blade and studying its movements. Speed. After a moment, a light flashed across Su Yun's eyes. Although this fellow's blade was astonishing and his aura was ferocious, his speed was not fast. With his advantage in speed, it was enough to suppress him. Thinking about it, Su Yun threw away the Lotus Star Sword in his left hand and flew on his sword, circling behind it, and then suddenly increased his speed, swinging the death sword in his hand so fast that it almost disappeared and smashed towards the demon shadow like a violent storm. Chapter 849. The demonic shadow was struck several times, and its body immediately dimmed down. Su Yun was overjoyed. He took advantage of the victory and chased after him. The sword danced wildly. The sword images formed layer after layer. Although the demonic shadow's blade power was fierce, its speed could not keep up with Su Yun and was quickly suppressed. The demonic shadow wanted to retreat, but the Lotus Star sword had already blocked it from behind. As soon as it retreated, the Lotus Star sword pierced forward, and the two swords, one in front and one behind, surrounded the demonic shadow like dumplings. The demonic shadow was getting darker and darker. Su Yun's eyes congealed. He did not dare be careless. He stared straight at the demonic shadow. As long as it had any intention of retreating, he would immediately force it back. The death sword was like a spinning fan blade, continuously striking its body. Its speed was fast, and its attacks were crafty. As they fought, the demonic shadow no longer had any leeway to retaliate. Just like that, it was erased in one go. Su Yun thought. But just then, the demonic shadow suddenly quietened down. It held onto the blade tightly with both hands, the blade facing the ground, no longer dodging Su Yun's attacks, no longer resisting, allowing Su Yun's attacks to rain down on its body. Seeing that, Su Yun's heart was filled with doubt. What was this? But very quickly, the demonic shadow gave him the answer. The terrifying blade fell down and fiercely smashed into the ground. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He immediately activated the Imperial Battle Robe, releasing all of his divine power, absorbing all of the blade intent and the demonic shadow's chi. However, its brute force was extremely terrifying, and when the blade landed on the ground, it still produced a rather astonishing power. However, Su Yun's estimation was wrong. The main goal of this demonic shadow was not to use this move to force Su Yun to retreat, but to force himself to retreat. After the blade landed on the ground, it produced a huge force. The dark body of the demonic shadow was directly sent flying by the force, crashing into the statue. Crap! Su Yun thought that something was wrong. The demonic shadow quickly pressed its hand on the statue, and its originally dim body turned black once again. Not only that, it even took off the armor from the statue and put it on its own body. He wore another piece of equipment. So cunning, it seems like this demon shadow has some intelligence. Su Yun could not help but say, of course, the current him felt that his intelligence was being insulted by this guy. The demonic shadow wore a helmet and armor. Its defensive power was astonishing. It raised its blade and rushed over. Its entire body was filled with profound chi, and its moves were even more ferocious. Relying on his speed, Su Yun circled behind it and quickly slashed. The rain-like sharp blades directly smashed onto its body. But although the armor only protected its chest and abdomen, the exposed areas were also covered by a layer of invisible barrier. The sharp blades were all blocked, and it was difficult to injure it by even half an inch. There was no solution at all. Su Yun gasped for breath. He let go of the sword and directly grabbed onto the demon shadow's two swords, activating the Imperial Battle Robe. The god power was like a ferocious beast's bloody mouth, directly enveloping it. Following that, all of the profound chi on the demon shadow's body was absorbed by Su Yun, filling up his previous consumption. The demon shadow could touch the statue to recover. If a normal person were to fight with it, they would probably be exhausted to death by the demon shadow's method, but Su Yun would not. It could replenish his condition. Su Yun could directly absorb it and convert it into his own energy. Compared to consumption, Su Yun was naturally extremely happy. What made Su Yun even more happy was that the armor on the demon shadow's body could also be absorbed. The armor's power was absorbed by the god power, and it became weak. After a few sword strikes, there were clear sounds of breaking, and upon closer inspection, cracks had already appeared on the transparent area covered by the armor. It seemed like this armor was not an invincible existence. Su Yun took a deep breath, took advantage of the victory, and increased his attack. At the same time, he waved his hand, and thousands of swords rushed out from the sword sheath, arranging themselves around him and the demon shadow, transforming into a gigantic sword cage that surrounded the two of them. Clang! Finally, the demon shadow's armor was shattered. Su Yun took advantage of the situation and fiercely attacked its weakness. The demon shadow started to struggle again, and its body quickly dimmed. At this time, as long as he prevented it from touching the statue again, he would be able to defeat it. Su Yun raised his spirit to its peak. His nerves tensed up, his eyes stared at the demon shadow without blinking, waiting for its next move. The sharp sword still cunningly slashed at the demon shadow's body, causing the demon shadow's body to become even dimmer. It had to move or it would lose. Finally, the demon shadow could not hold it in any longer. It raised its blade again, intending to shake itself out and return to the statue. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He raised his sword and smashed towards its blade. The pitch-black death sword was like a black star in the daytime, attacking straight at him. With a wung sound, the death sword smashed onto the blade of the large blade. The power of the blade was immediately dispersed by the death sword, and when it smashed onto the ground, it no longer had much power, but with a dong sound, the demon shadow was forced back a few steps by the power of the blade, but it was not sent flying again. Chance! Su Yun suddenly leaped up. The divine wind sword technique was pushed to the limit. At the same time, he used the limitless sword technique. The thousands of swords around him all attacked the demon shadow. The demon shadow was caught off guard and was attacked by so many fierce swords, it had no way to resist. Su Yun had already let it successfully approach the statue twice. How could he let it succeed the third time? First take out the blade, then take out the helmet, then the armor. If he let it get close to the statue this time, wouldn't he have to take out all the remaining parts? The one who obtained the great devil's inheritance would not be Su Yun, but this guy. That would be difficult to deal with. Su Yun did not have much time, so he naturally would not waste it like this. Under the baptism of thousands of flying swords, the color of the demon shadow's body dimmed at an astonishing speed. In a short moment, it had turned into a transparent grayish-black color, like a mist. Gee! Finally, the demon shadow let out a strange sound and completely collapsed. The armor and blade on its body fell to the ground, and the pitch-black chi drilled into the statue. Seeing that, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. It was finally over. What the hell was this thing? He put away the subordinate sword, and his gaze fell on the armor and blade that were scattered on the ground. After thinking for a while, he walked over. However, before Su Yun could reach out to pick up the armor and blade and armor suddenly moved by themselves. They quickly trembled a few times, and then with a so sound, they flew into the air and collided with the statue. Before Su Yun could react, when he looked over, the blade and armor had already returned to the statue's body. What the hell was going on? Su Yun's mind was filled with doubts, but no one could tell him the answer. What exactly was in this ancient tomb? The new demon lord. You have performed very well. Just as Su Yun was puzzled, a voice suddenly came out. Su Yun's entire body trembled. He immediately looked towards the direction of the voice, only to realize that the one who spoke was actually the statue in front of him. Who are you? He growled. I am whoever this statue looks like. A voice came out from the statue. So that's how it is. Su Yun revealed a look of understanding, but in his heart, he was thinking, who exactly is this statue? You just defeated the shadow guard that I attached to the statue. This shadow guard has 1/10 of my strength. Not bad. You were able to easily defeat it. It could be seen that even if you met me, you would still be able to exchange a few blows. Your strength has obtained my approval. I will pass on everything I have left in this ancient tomb to you. I hope that you will be able to perfectly inherit them and bring glory to the true devil sect. The voice from the statue came out again. Hearing that, Su Yun was excited. He immediately cupped his fists and said, Thank you, Senior. Take it. With that said, the blade, armor, and space bag on the statue all flew out and flew towards Su Yun. They slowly floated in front of him and finally landed neatly in front of him. This armor and blade are born from each other. If they leave, the power of the two magic treasure S will be greatly reduced. The armor's defense is not bad, but it can't be considered outstanding. The most important thing is this blade. It has the effect of a restraining force. Restraining force? This junior is stupid. I don't know what it means. Restraining force is an increase in strength. This blade has a total of 12 levels, and because the effects of the force are mutual, when you use this blade, every time you swing it, you will use your own strength. At the same time, this blade will also be able to store your strength again and return it to your body, allowing you to have double the strength in your next attack. It's actually that magical. Su Yun was stunned. Doesn't that mean, after I swing 12 times, I can unleash 12 times the strength? Wrong. You're absolutely wrong. The voice from the statue came out. Ugh, isn't that so? Of course not. The voice from the statue said in a deep voice, the actual algorithm is not like this. When you swing your first blade, you store twice the strength, and when you swing your second blade, it is built on the foundation of twice the strength, which is 4 times, and after 4 times, it is 8 times, and after 8 times, it is 16 times. When you swing your 12th blade, the strength of your body is already 4,096 times. Do you understand? Hearing that, Su Yun was immediately dumbstruck. In just 12 short slashes, his strength had increased by more than 4,000 times in an instant. How terrifying was that? With the Divine Wind Sword technique, he could unleash over 1,000 strikes in a single breath of time. Doubling it was simply a piece of cake. When your restraining force has already multiplied to more than 4,000 times, this blade will also reach its limit and will no longer give you any more power. If you do not use your blade within 50 breaths of time, your strength will recover. This blade cannot leave the armor, otherwise it will not be able to coexist. At most, it can only give you 2 times the increase in strength. Hearing these words, Su Yun was shocked and sighed. He never thought that this blade would be so terrifying. Previously, my shadow guards did not use the characteristics of this blade to fight with you. If not, you would not have defeated my shadow guards so easily. Inside the space bag are the pills and materials that I left for you. You can use them as you wish. All right, new demon lord, this is what I left for you. If you want to obtain more power, you can go and accept the test of others and obtain a magic treasure. Let me remind you, I'm a relatively easy person to talk to, but they might not. Other than that, do not try the innermost statue, remember. As the sound of his voice faded, the black smoke around the statue immediately dissipated. Following that, the entire statue became ordinary. There's no longer anything special about it, and even the stone body had a few traces of decay. Su Yun stood in front of the statue and bowed to it seriously. Chapter 850. After obtaining the treasure, Su Yun did not rush to find the next statue. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the ground, rested for a moment, put on the armor, and threw the pitch-black blade into the sword sheath. This was the first time Su Yun had placed a blade into the sword sheath. Speaking of blades, Su Yun was not good at using them, but the power of the blade was very suitable for him to use his strength to control the sword. Although he did not know any blade techniques, he did not expect to rely on the blade to defend himself. Opening the space bag, in an instant, the treasures inside the space bag entered Su Yun's line of sight. There weren't many magic treasure-s inside, but the materials and pills were simply dazzling. He couldn't even look at them, and it was so dazzling that it made his eyes dizzy. Su Yun took out the pills one by one, spread them on the ground, and studied them one by one. Meridian Cleansing Pill. After consuming it, it could cleanse the Chi Meridian, repair the damaged parts of the Chi Meridian, remove impurities, and increase the strength and purity of the Chi Meridian. 10 solid pills. Strengthening the flesh and blood, increasing its strength to more than 10 times its original strength. Over 1,000 good fortune pills. After consuming it, it could open up all the meridians in the body, increase one's cultivation, strengthen the spirit core, and speed up the production of profound chi. Other than that, there were also a large number of alchemy materials, all of which were rare in the world. These things were probably painstakingly collected by the great devil, and for an ordinary person to obtain one was a lifetime of good fortune. But now there were so many pills. It was as if he was living in a dream. But what made Su Yun puzzled was, why did these great demons want to set up a cenotaph and disappear? They didn't even want these treasures? Were they dead? Or did they go to a higher realm? High-level realm. A word suddenly flashed past Su Yun's mind. Immortal world. Perhaps in all the realms, only the immortal world could stand above the myriad realms. Did they all go to the immortal world? But didn't the immortal world hate Devil Cultivator? If such a great demon went to the immortal world, other than facing countless enemies, there would be no other outcome. Forget it. Why think so much about it? After consuming all the pills, Su Yun started to digest them, but after a while, his body started to heat up again. This was a sign of a breakthrough. However, the current breakthrough was not as impatient as when he was at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. The breakthrough at this time was abnormally natural without any discomfort. The chi meridians and spirit essences in his body released a warm current, which was extremely comfortable. He sat cross-legged quietly, observing the changes in his body bit by bit. He felt the slowly rising chi in his body, and that feeling was self-evident. 8th grade of Spirit Emperor. Su Yun greedily enjoyed the feeling of his strength increasing. Ordinary people would not dare believe that in just a few short years, Su Yun had directly stepped into the 8th stage from the 1st stage of the Spirit Emperor. This was something that many people would not be able to do in their entire lives. However, such a rapid breakthrough was extremely normal for the current Su Yun. Regardless of whether it was the support of the Imperial Battle Armor or the amplification of the Supreme Sect Lord's soul, his cultivation was like a rocket that soared into the sky. After advancing to the 8th stage, Su Yun felt that the profound chi in his body had increased by dozens of times, and his strength and speed had reached a new height. However, this was only secondary, and the most important thing was still his comprehension of the profound chi. In the initial stage, during the Spirit Novice Disciple period, people's understanding of the profound chi was only a desire and pursuit for a type of power. What people wanted to know was how to obtain this kind of power, how to obtain more profound chi, but they ignored its essence, and as their cultivation continued to increase, the profound chi continued to grow stronger, and people's understanding of it also slowly changed. Su Yun still remembered the teachings the Sword Ancestor had given him in the Dark Place, and the Sword of all worlds that he had taught him. Everything in the world had a spirit. Even the profound chi was the same. Su Yun and the profound chi had already gone through 3 stages. He longed to pursue it, treat it as an object, indulge in killing, treat it as a martial art, and now he had mastered it and treated it as a friend. The current Su Yun felt that the profound chi in his entire body was like his left and right hands, like his own friends. They could be relied on and trusted. He had never experienced this feeling before. After meditating for about 6 to 8 hours, Su Yun slowly opened his eyes. He stood up and seriously stretched his muscles and bones. His condition had recovered to its peak. He then stood up and walked towards the next statue. The statue below was much smaller than before. The owner of the statue looked like a thin and weak youth. He wore a set of cloth clothes and did not dress up too well. He looked like he had 8 teeth, but he was not as delicate and pretty as Octagon Aniseed, making him look even more like Sunshine. Judging from the statue, the owner did not seem to be a devil cultivator. He did not have any equipment on him, but there was an extremely large space bag hanging from his waist. Just as Su Yun approached, he was attracted by the space bag. "Yo, I never thought that you would actually be able to complete that stupid Saber's test. Not bad, not bad. The new Demon Lord still has some ability. At least you didn't disappoint me." At this moment, a teasing voice suddenly came out from the thin statue. Su Yun was startled. He looked towards the direction of the voice, only to see that the surface of the statue was also covered with a circle of pitch-black devil chi. Could it be the same as the previous statue? Were they all enchanted by the owner of the statue? Su Yun thought for a moment, then cupped his fists towards the statue and said, "Junior greets Senior. Hey, don't be so polite. I'm a very easy person to talk to." The voice came out from the statue once again, sounding somewhat indifferent. Even though he said that, Suyin did not dare to listen to everything. Easy to talk to? Could he rely on his mouth to win the trial and obtain the inheritance of the great demons? All right, young demon lord, let's not waste any more time. If you defeat my shadow guard, you will be able to obtain my 100 treasures bag. Inside this 100 treasures bag, there are 100 treasures that I have deposited. If you can obtain it, I guarantee that your strength will be able to leap 1,000 miles, and no one will be able to compare to you. Are you moved? If you're moved, why don't you hurry up and take action? With that said, the devil chi attached to the surface of the statue immediately condensed into a shadow and directly landed in front of Suyun. This was the shadow guard of the statue. This shadow guard was extremely skinny, and both of his hands were empty. He did not hold any weapons, and even the profound chi around his body was extremely blurry and did not look strong. However, how could a person who was called a great demon by the true devil sect be an ordinary person? Suyin stared at the shadow guard vigilantly, the lotus star sword in his hand tightly clenched. He did not know what this fellow's attack method was, nor did he know if this fellow would return to his original state after being killed by him and touching the statue. Fight to your heart's content. Don't hold back. I'm afraid that if you hold back, you won't have the chance to make a move again. The voice from the statue was filled with a hint of playfulness. These words were truly arrogant and filled with contempt. Suyin was naturally unhappy, but he did not say much. After all, there was always someone stronger than him in the world, and a single word of contempt from such an existence could not anger him. When he finished speaking, the shadow guard in front of Suyun moved. It took a step forward. It was just a single step. There was no terrifying speed, no astonishing power. It was just a simple and light step. After that, it formed a fist with one hand and a palm with the other, and actually took a stance in front of Suyun. If this was done by a person who looked like an adult man, then it would be quite impressive. However, the person who did this was a very thin and weak youth, which made people unable to help but laugh. My shadow guard is about to attack. You have to be careful. The voice from the statue came out again. Suyun's eyes tensed up. The shadow guard moved again. He opened his legs and ran towards Suyun step by step. Slow. It was extremely slow, only about 10 meters per second. In front of Suyun, this kind of speed was like the speed of a turtle. If its running speed was so slow, then what about its attack speed? Could it be the same? If that was the case, then Suyun's victory was already in his grasp. He could completely suppress his opponent with his speed. The shadow guard rushed in front of Suyun, and the palm of his hand flew straight towards Suyun. How could Suyun not notice such a slow movement? He immediately turned around, dodging the incoming palm, and with a backhand slash, he slashed at the shadow guard's neck. Chi! The shadow guard let out a strange sound. Its body dimmed a little. Was it so easy to get it? It seemed that everything was as he had expected. Suyun thought. However, not long after this thought appeared, his entire body was struck by a strange force, and he was sent flying. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and fell into the distance. Suyun immediately stood up, holding onto his chest. He wiped off the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes filled with astonishment. What was going on? He had clearly dodged the opponent's attack, so why was he still hit? Did the shadow guard hit me? His heart was filled with surprise. At this moment, the shadow guard attacked again. His speed was still as slow as ever, and he still did not have any imposing manner. He just ran over, and his fist once again smashed towards Suyun. Although he was suspicious, but this was also a flaw. How could Suyun let it go? He immediately dodged the fist, his body spinning, one hand holding onto the death sword, the other hand pulling towards the sword sheath, rolling out thousands of swords, directly attacking the shadow guard. His aura was like a rainbow, with the intention of defeating the shadow guard on the statue with one strike. However, a strange scene appeared again. This time, Suyun did not even touch the shadow guard, but he suddenly suffered a heavy blow. The profound chi in his body started to fluctuate. The chi meridian trembled, the The spirit core shook, and his body flew out uncontrollably, heavily crashing onto the ground. Ugh! He spat out another mouthful of blood. These 2 moves had almost crippled him. Why did I avoid your fist? But I'm still injured. What the hell is going on? Su Yun secretly clenched his teeth. His heart was filled with shock and suspicion. Young demon monarch, let me give you a hint. The attacks you see are actually all fake. The real attacks are hidden within these fake attacks. At this moment, the statue spoke again. A fake attack? Could it be that the fist and palm he had seen before were all fake? Chapter 851. It was extremely possible. Su Yun still remembered that he had faced many enemies in the past. Some of them had used illusion techniques to create the illusion of an attack, confusing the enemy, while the real body would circle around from the side. It was simply impossible to guard against. Could it be that this guy also used this method? Su Yun secretly guessed. After thinking for a moment, he changed the death sword in his hand to the Lotus Star Sword and secretly activated the Imperial Battle Robe. The statue seemed to have noticed Su Yun's small movements and revealed a smile. Yo, great demon lord, you have quite a few treasures on you. That sword seems to be quite interesting. And your body is power. TSK, TSK, TSK. Incredible, incredible. You might even be able to pass my test. Su Yun did not say a word. He stared at the shadow guard. He immediately pushed his speed to the limit and rushed forward again. However, this time, the shadow guard did not move forward. Instead, he stood in place, staring at Su Yun, and suddenly waved his palm forward. There were no ripples on his palm. This palm was even less imposing. However, the moment the palm was waved, the void suddenly exploded, and a strange ripple directly attacked Su Yun. Su Yun's eyes tensed up. The ripple covered an extremely wide area, covering almost all of the area in front of him. It was impossible to dodge, and he could not block it. He hurriedly raised his sword and prepared to parry. However, when the ripples hit his body, they did not cause any damage. Whether it was physical or mental, they did not cause any damage. He stood in place, still maintaining a defensive posture. Crap, this is fake. Su Yun immediately reacted, but it was already too late. The pitch-black shadow guard attacked again, his palm striking towards Su Yun's chest. Dong! He was sent flying again. Ayaya, what's going on? Just a small illusion technique is enough to make you so flustered? How can this be? Seeing Su Yun suffering so many losses, the mocking voice from the statue came out again. Senior's illusion technique is indeed exquisite. Every move you make is completely natural. You can unknowingly drag your opponent into your illusion. This junior admires this method. Su Yun said in a deep voice, his eyes tensed up. Compared to the great demon, the Void Spirit Saint's mental technique was simply insignificant. Even the Lotus Star Sword could not defend against the great demon's illusion technique. The Imperial Battle Robe was directly crippled. Hee, Lord Demon King, if you can't defeat my shadow guards, you won't be able to get my treasure. Not only that, you can't challenge the great demons behind you either. The Demon King only has one chance to enter the ancient tomb. If you miss it, you can only wait for the next Demon King to appear. You have to work hard and don't disappoint me. The voice rang out again. After Su Yun heard that, he was extremely unwilling, but he was not angry. Instead, he focused and stared at the shadow guard. If this shadow guard was an expert in illusions, then it would be biased towards spirit techniques, which was precisely Su Yun's weakest point. Facing spirit techniques, the most important thing was to not be distracted and then go all out, be it defense or attack. However, there was no use in defending. He couldn't figure out his opponent's attack pattern at all. If he just defended blindly, he would only suffer a crushing defeat. But if he attacked, he would be dragged into an illusion. How could he attack? He was afraid that even if he launched an attack, he would only be hitting air, right? If they didn't even know where the target was, how could they even talk about attacking? Illusion? Suddenly, Su Yun seemed to have thought of something. When he was fighting with the Void Spirit Saint, he had also been dragged into an illusion by the other party. However, he had left 2 flying swords outside the illusion in advance, and used the voice of the Void Spirit Saint to determine her location and attack her. This method might work. However, locating was the most difficult. Right now, the one attacking Su Yun was the Shadow Guard, but the one who made the sound was the statue. It was impossible for him to use the statue's voice to determine the location of the Shadow Guard. How should I defeat the enemy? Su Yun started to think hard. However, the other party obviously did not give Su Yun too much time to think. Seeing that Su Yun was no longer attacking, the Shadow Guard stepped forward and walked towards Su Yun. Its movements were still slow and steady, like a huge mountain slowly floating over. However, the more it was like this, the more it gave off an invisible pressure. Su Yun immediately took out the subordinate sword and slashed at it. The sword images turned into waves, layer after layer stacking towards the Shadow Guard. The Shadow Guard did not dodge, but casually struck again. Clang! The flying subordinate sword was inexplicably struck down. Su Yun did not even see what the other party did. In the next breath, his chest was struck again, and he flew out again, blood flowing out of his mouth. Su Yun didn't even remember how many times he had eaten. The opponent's attack was completely unpredictable, as if there was no shadow. Moreover, all of its performance was just an illusion. If not for the protection of the Imperial Battle Robe, Su Yun would have been severely injured even if he didn't die. There was no way to fight back. At this moment, he felt as if he was fighting against a ball of cotton. He had all the strength in his body, but he couldn't use it. All right, Lord Demon Lord, you should give up. If this goes on, you will die. You won't be able to pass this test, and I'm afraid this bag of mine is not fated to be with you. The voice came out again. Not fated. Su Yun's eyes suddenly tensed up, his gaze landing on the statue. He seemed to have thought of something and stood up again. Oh, the statue was puzzled. Seeing that Su Yun was still resisting, it seemed to be a little confused. Senior, this is the first time we've met, so you naturally don't understand me. Su Yun stared at the statue and said in a deep voice, I, Su Yun, have never given up on my dictionary. If I were to give up so easily, do you think I would still have a way to go? Hearing that, the statue was stunned for a moment, then laughed out loud. Ha ha, good, good. As expected of my true devil sex demon lord, with you here in the devil's sect, we will be at ease. However, even if you say that, I won't go easy on you. If you want to take my inheritance, you'll have to rely on your own abilities. Come, let me see how stubborn you can be. I have to remind you, I will not show mercy. The ancient tomb is not only the cenotaph of the great devils, perhaps, it is also the wrath of the devil's sex demon lord. You have to think it through. I've already thought it through very clearly. Su Yun said indifferently. Suddenly, with a turn of his palm, thousands of flying swords shot out from the sword sheath, directly attacking the Shadow Guard. You have long since been enveloped by my illusion technique. Everything you're doing now is in vain. Seeing Su Yun's actions, the statue did not panic at all. It laughed and said, and then ordered the Shadow Guard to take action again. If Su Yun did not solve the problem of the illusion technique, then all of his attacks would be futile. The Shadow Guard raised his fist and palm at a moderate pace, preparing to counterattack. However, when the Shadow Guard was about to take action, the statue's expression suddenly froze. Where is Su Yun? The Shadow Guard looked around and discovered that the flying swords had turned into a wall of swords, surrounding it tightly. On the other hand, Su Yun had already disappeared. Hua! At this moment, a strong gust of wind blew over. The Shadow Guard immediately scattered the subordinate swords and looked towards the direction of the wind, only to see that Su Yun was actually approaching the great demonic statue. His target. It was actually the statue. Hey kid, what are you doing? The voice from the statue was astonished. But in the next second, Su Yun had already grabbed onto the statue and suddenly exerted force, throwing it towards the sword sheath at his waist. Boom! The sword sheath released a light, and the gigantic statue was directly sucked into the sword sheath, while Su Yun also rushed into the sword sheath in that instant. The moment he entered the sword sheath, he also left the illusion. The Shadow Guard and the statue were in two completely different spaces, losing contact and instantly dissipating. Inside the pure white world of the sword sheath, Su Yun and the statue stood on a platform. At this moment, the statue had already lost its luster and stood in front of Su Yun. The shadow guard was no longer there, so Su Yun walked over and took the space bag from the statue. Powerful, powerful. You sure know how to observe and analyze. The voice from the statue seemed to be somewhat weak. He smiled and said, "Those with strong bodies are often weaker in terms of spirit, and those with strong minds are not strong in terms of physical body. You are aiming at this point and plan to use this strange space to isolate me and the Shadow Guard?" "Senior is right," Su Yun said indifferently. "This junior has just realized that the Shadow Guard relies on the statue to survive. When I fought with that senior earlier, I knew that I was dragged into the illusion by the Shadow Guard, but that was only aimed at the Shadow Guard and me, not the senior statue, so I was sure that I would be able to succeed if I attacked the statue. If I attack the statue, I won't have enough time, and the Shadow Guard will be on guard, so I will do this. Since the Shadow Guard dragged me into its world, then I can only drag Senior into my world." That move just now was actually somewhat lacking in strength. Although the statue didn't look big, it was shockingly heavy. If he hadn't taken out the black saber and swung it 12 times in a row to increase his strength, he probably wouldn't have been able to complete it. Interesting, haha. Kid, you're very interesting. Although your method is a little opportunistic, in the end you still defeated my Shadow Guard, and even me. I'll pass this 100 treasures bag to you. I hope you can use the treasures in this bag well, and don't disgrace my name. Ha ha. That voice was incomparably confident. The laughter rippled through the sky and earth of the sword world, and then it slowly became weaker and weaker. After about 10 breaths of time, there was no longer any movement from the statue. Just like the previous one, the statue had withered and decayed. Su Yun took a deep breath, bowed to the statue, and then carried the statue back to the ancient tomb, placing it in its original position. This was only the second statue of the great demon. How terrifying would the statue behind him be? He thought to himself, but it was better not to think about it right now. Su Yun anxiously sat down cross-legged, took out the 100 treasures bag, and then opened it. Chapter 852. The moment he took out the 100 treasures pouch, the scenery around Su Yun suddenly changed. Layers of red and white mist rippled around him. It was extremely gorgeous, like a dream. Before Su Yun could react to what was happening, a large number of pillars of light appeared around him. These pillars of light were extremely dazzling and had different colors. The pillars of light continued for a long time before slowly disappearing. Su Yun looked again, only to realize that every pillar of light was an exquisite palm-sized box. "They're all treasures. Su Yun, you're rich." Just then, a voice suddenly came out from beside him. Su Yun was shocked. He turned to look, only to see that Ling Qingyu was standing beside him. "Qingyu, when did you come out? How could I not know that you dragged a big statue into the sword sheath?" Ling Qingyu rolled her eyes at him and said, "I have comprehended something during this period of time, so I meditated inside. It's rare for me to have some peace and quiet, but you're here again. The situation is urgent. I have no choice." Su Yun said apologetically, Ever since I've known you, I've never seen you stop." Ling Qingyu snorted, then looked around and asked, "Where are you now?" "The True Devil Sect's forbidden ancient tomb, the cenotaph of all the great devils of the True Devil Sect." Su Yun laughed. "No wonder the devil chi here is so dense." Ling Qingyu frowned. Her gaze landed on the treasure boxes around her and said, "Quickly open these boxes and see what treasures are inside." "Yes." Su Yun did not hesitate and opened a treasure box inside. Inside the first box was a small round piece of iron the size of a copper coin. The iron piece was rusty and did not seem to have anything special about it. Su Yun pinched it and looked at it carefully. There was no profound qi, no energy undulations, and not even a little bit of light. Is this also a treasure? He was puzzled. The quality of an item is not determined by its appearance, but by the energy it contains and its essence. However, this thing shouldn't be a magic treasure. Maybe it's just a material. Let's keep it for now. Maybe my current cultivation is too low to see how powerful it is. Su Yun placed the iron piece into the box, and threw it into his own space bag. He opened the second box. The box was empty, but it spat out a ray of light that scattered in all directions. In that moment, a large number of golden words appeared on the light screen around Su-yun. He glanced sideways and read it carefully, discovering that it was actually a mantra. Desire is the time when I hear it. The devil leans to the side of the heart. Illusion and reality are all illusions, burning like light and dark. Stillness and movement are one. Yin and yang seem to be one. There is no distance between heaven and earth. The sun and moon seem to be connected. Only the heart can contain it. Not even an inch of it leaves the soul. There is no need for fortune and wisdom, no need to fear evil. Empty soul and body, hidden and visible, transcending without beginning with a flick of the finger, primal chaos, eternal existence in the darkness. Su-yun stared at the words and muttered. After a round, both of them had gained some insights. This seems to be a profound technique related to illusion techniques. Su-yun said solemnly. And it is extremely exquisite. I wonder which expert created it. Every word and sentence is imbued with the 3 souls and 7 spirits of a spirit cultivator. It is truly admirable. Ling Qingyu stared at the words without blinking and said, Su-yun, sit down cross-legged and start practicing. Practice? Su-yun was startled. What? Don't tell me you want me to cultivate this mental cultivation method right now? Training in martial arts is not something that can be done in a day, and you can't be too hasty. Besides, the conditions here don't allow it. Idiot. Ling Qingyu secretly scolded. She pointed to the treasure box and said, Don't you understand? You only have one chance. What one chance? Su-yun felt that it was strange. His gaze shifted to the treasure box, but with just a glance, he was stunned. At this moment, the treasure box was slowly cracking and rotting. Previously, it had been dazzling, but now it had become ordinary and ordinary. The treasure box is self-destructing? Su-yun frowned and said, That's right. Ling Qingyu nodded. If it's self-destructing, then so be it. These words are only 300 words. I can memorize them with a glance. I've already memorized them by heart. So what if I destroy them? 300 words of mental cultivation method is not a lot. Forget about spirit cultivator. Even ordinary mortals would be able to memorize it in a short period of time. If that's the case, don't you think it's unnecessary to destroy the box that recorded the mental cultivation method? Ling Qingyu walked closer to the box and closed her eyes as though she was feeling it. After a while, she opened her eyes and said, However, the owner of this box will not do such a useless thing. Su-yun, at the same time that this box is self-destructing, is also releasing a strange energy. This energy seems to be a prerequisite for cultivating this mental cultivation method. Su-yun, if you don't hurry up and start cultivating, when this treasure box finishes self-destructing, you will miss out on this peerless mental cultivation method. Hearing Ling Qingyu's words, Su-yun suddenly understood. How could he dare hesitate? He immediately sat cross-legged in front of the treasure box, closed his eyes, and began to circulate his qi according to the description of the mental cultivation method. The speed at which the treasure box self-destructed was not considered fast. Based on his initial estimation, Su-yun had at least 16 hours to cultivate. However, what kind of mental cultivation method could be learned in 16 hours? If he learned it just like that, then this mental cultivation method would probably be useless, right? Everything had to be done in a gradual manner. Haste makes waste. This mental cultivation method required one to cultivate so quickly. Was it really that powerful? Although he thought so, after thinking about it carefully, Su-yun realized that he was completely wrong. There was yang in the yin, there was reality in the void, the sun and moon were connected, and there was no distance between heaven and earth. This mental cultivation method was clearly the illusion technique that the great demonic Shadow Guard had used against him. In truth, Su-yun did not actually defeat the Shadow Guard in the previous test, but rather, he took advantage of the situation and controlled the statue to complete the test. If it was said that he only fought against the Shadow Guard head-on with that strange attack method, it would be extremely difficult for Su Yun to win. He never thought that he would have the chance to learn such a mental cultivation method. Su Yun sighed in his heart, but at the same time, he was overjoyed. This profound technique mental cultivation method had a very domineering name. It was called the yin-yang manifestation art. The entire mental cultivation method only had one level. It could be learned. It was the purest illusion technique mental cultivation method. But it was also the most complicated mental cultivation method. The most important thing about this profound technique mental cultivation method was that the illusion technique could be used as one pleased, and it could be used as one pleased. Once this illusion technique was activated, it would be equivalent to forming an absolute domain around his body. Anyone who approached this domain could be forcefully pulled into the illusion, and the so-called illusion was Su Yun's own world. He could easily disguise his own attack, causing the extremely ferocious killing move to become useless. It was light and easy, making it impossible for people to guard against it. Who wouldn't love such a profound technique? Su Yun seriously comprehended every word of the mental cultivation method, his eyes focused and focused. The difficulty of learning a profound technique mental cultivation method in 8 hours could be imagined. At this moment, not only did Su Yun need to comprehend them, he also needed to follow the instructions of the higher-ups to practice and master them. According to what Ling Qingyu said, when the treasure box self-destructed, it released a unique energy. This energy was a primer for Su Yun, and only with its guidance would Su Yun be able to successfully learn the yin-yang manifestation art. Illusions were the most common mental techniques, but illusions were also ever-changing. Some illusions could change one's own image. Some could make the mountains and rivers disappear, and there were even more powerful illusions that could make a spirit cultivator forever immerse themselves in illusions, unable to extricate themselves. This was a technique that used mental fluctuations as a carrier to spread out in all directions, affecting the consciousness and spirit of others. As the saying goes, attacking the heart is the best, and illusions are techniques that attack the heart. If one could control the consciousness and spirit of a spirit cultivator, then how difficult would it be to defeat the spirit cultivator? Su Yun raised his hand and gently waved it. His eyes were already closed, and his not considered strong mental energy began to tremble. According to the description of the manifestation art, he began to try to spread out his mental energy. This was not a difficult thing to do. Not long after, Su Yun successfully spread out his own mental energy. Although it was not strong, it was enough. After all, this was the first time he had practiced such a profound mental technique. Of course, learning to release mental fluctuations was still far from enough. This yin-yang manifestation art was located between reality and illusion, between yin and yang, between heaven and earth. What it pursued was not the illusion, but the reality within the illusion, the reality within the illusion, the reality within the illusion, and the reality within the illusion. If it was just an illusion, how much power could it produce? Just like the Void Spirit Saint back then, he had clearly controlled Su Yun, but it was difficult for him to destroy his spirit, giving him an opportunity to take advantage of. It was just that the manifestation art was too exquisite, and the requirements for the control of mental fluctuations were also extremely high. Its activation was not something that could be done by forming a seal or chanting an incantation. What it required was to be able to release the profound technique at any time, come and go quietly, so that the opponent would not be able to detect that they had been dragged into an illusion. This was not a requirement for speed, but a requirement for reaction speed and proficiency. Of course, there was also a requirement for the control of mental fluctuations, which was extremely high and strict. Fortunately, although Su Yun did not understand mental techniques, his spirit was strong enough. After experiencing so much, his spirit was especially firm and vigorous, so learning the yin-yang manifestation art was not difficult. Ling Qingyu stood at the side, staring at Su Yun without blinking. As the treasure box slowly self-destructed, the words of the mental cultivation method also slowly lost their luster. Su Yun looked at it word by word and experienced it word by word. At first glance, he thought that the 300 words were very simple, but now that he looked at it again, he felt that the 300 words were too much. Time was of the essence, and he could not waste a single second. Time slowly passed. It's already been 6 hours. Ling Qingyu was rather anxious and muttered, "Can Suyin learn it?" Suyun's calm expression made her a little anxious. Chapter 853. Ziyu Immortal Kingdom. In the quiet palace, there were many armored soldiers. Sun Xiangyin walked alone towards the great hall in the center of the palace at a moderate pace. At this moment, her heroic face was filled with seriousness, and she seemed especially solemn. She arrived at the entrance of the hall and stopped. She stood by the entrance of the hall and waited quietly until a well-dressed attendant walked out and shouted, "The Empress Dowager has ordered the Grand Princess to enter the hall. Beauty accepts the decree." Sun Xiangyin called out in a low voice and followed the attendant inside. After entering the hall, the solemn atmosphere became even more intense, as if the air had frozen. Sun Xiangyin lowered her head and walked step by step to the center of the palace. She did not know who was on either side of her, nor did she dare to look. She still did not know who was sitting in the great hall, because after entering the hall, she had been lowering her head. This was the rule. She could not raise her head before paying her respects. Of course, it was a good thing not to raise his head at this moment. "Greetings, Empress Dowager." Sun Xiangyin knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the person above. "Stand up and speak, child," the person at the top said indifferently. "Thank you, Empress Dowager." Sun Xiangyin stood up and raised her head to look at the person above. At the top was an old woman with white hair and a rather old appearance. She held a black and brown staff in her hand and wore a robe with phoenix patterns all over her body. Her expression was rather serious, but there was still a trace of love in the depths of her eyes. "I've already heard about the destruction of the Forbidden Area. Sunli said that this matter was caused by you, right?" The Empress Dowager asked. Sun Xiangyin was silent for a moment, then said, "Reporting to the Empress Dowager, this matter, perhaps it is indeed related to looks." "So you admit it?" The Empress Dowager frowned. "Although it has something to do with looks, I don't know what the reason is. If this matter is indeed caused by looks, then looks are willing to bear all responsibility. However, no one knows the whole story, so looks still hope to investigate it in detail." The Empress Dowager was silent for a moment. She looked at the people below and then secretly scanned the people on both sides who did not say a word. She began to think. "Let Sun Li enter the hall." The Empress Dowager said indifferently, "Yes, Your Majesty." The well-dressed attendant nodded, and Xian hurriedly walked out of the hall. A moment later, she led a young man into the hall. At first glance, this person was Sun Di. Grandson Sun Li pays his respects to the Empress Dowager. Sun Li walked to Sun Xiangyin's side, shouted loudly, and kowtowed. "Sun Di, get up." "Thank you, Empress Dowager." Sun Li shouted again and stood up quietly. He wasn't very nervous. The Empress Dowager glanced at him and said, "Sun Di, you said that the forbidden trial area left behind by our ancestors was destroyed by her beauty. Now that she is here, tell me what happened." When Sun Li heard this, he nodded and bowed. "Yes, Empress Dowager." He was silent for a moment, then said, "Reporting to the Empress Dowager, actually, Sun Li did not see the entire process. That day, when Sun Li was passing by the clear palace not far from the training forbidden area, he suddenly heard a loud noise from the forbidden area. The earth trembled, and the profound chi flew everywhere, so he immediately went over to check what was going on. However, when Sun Li arrived at the forbidden area, he saw his elder sister walking out of the forbidden area. This matter cannot be completely blamed on elder sister. If you want to pursue the matter, you have to capture these two people. Sun Li spoke at a moderate pace, but every word was spat out very clearly. The Empress Dowager slowly raised her head and asked solemnly, "Who are these two?" "This. I'm afraid I'll have to ask Big Sis," Sun Li said in a low voice, but a strange light flashed in his eyes. Sun Xiangyin bit her lower lip, but did not hide anything. She bowed and said, "Reporting to the Empress Dowager, these two people, their relationship with beauty is not shallow. One of them is the daughter of the divine Cloud Immortal Palace's palace master, which is also her junior sister. The other is her disciple. Why would these two appear in the training forbidden area? The Empress Dowager asked indifferently. This question hit the nail on the head. Junior sister has accepted a new disciple with extraordinary talent. The cultivation conditions of the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace are rather simple and crude. Junior sister was afraid that she would bury this child's talent, so she allowed him to enter the ultimate martial world and come to my immortal country to cultivate. If you want to cultivate, then cultivate. Why did you go to the training forbidden area? Suddenly chuckled. Big sis, don't you know what kind of place the training forbidden area is? Although the forbidden area is a forbidden area, it is not that others are not allowed to enter. I have already asked for my uncle's opinion on this matter, and they have all agreed, so I let Qinger go. Then why didn't you ask for my opinion? The Empress Dowager spoke up. When Sun Xiangyan heard this, she immediately knelt down and said in a low voice, "The Empress Dowager has been searching for healing pills for Royal Father for a few months now. She feels that it will be difficult for the Empress Dowager to return for a while, and coincidentally, Qinger has reached a bottleneck and is in urgent need of a challenge to help him break through so she let Qinger enter the training forbidden area. The forbidden area was left behind by the ancestors for you, the descendants of the Sun family. How can you open it to an outsider?" The Empress Dowager frowned. This. Furthermore, the destruction of the forbidden grounds is a foregone conclusion. We must have an explanation for this matter, otherwise, how will my Sun family explain it to our ancestors? The Empress Dowager said in a deep voice, then shouted, "Go and capture that girl from the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace and that Qinger, and lock them in prison first." "Yes, sir." A deputy general received the order and immediately left the hall. Seeing this, Sun Xiangyan immediately became anxious and hurriedly called out, "Empress Dowager, please wait. This matter has not been investigated clearly, although Xiangyan opened the door to the forbidden grounds for others without permission. But the destruction of the forbidden grounds may not be Qinger's fault. Junior sister is even more innocent. I hope that the Empress Dowager will reconsider and investigate this matter thoroughly before acting." "Are you saying that the forbidden grounds will be destroyed for no reason?" The Empress Dowager said indifferently. "No. It's just that when something happened in the forbidden grounds, none of us were there, but we arrived later. No one knows what happened in the forbidden grounds. Empress Dowager, if we act recklessly like this, I'm afraid it's not appropriate. How dare you?" The Empress Dowager shouted in a low voice, "Beauty, are you teaching me a lesson?" Hearing that, Sun Xiangyan immediately lowered her body and hurriedly said, "Grandson does not dare. It is just that. Junior sister is the daughter of the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace's palace master. Although the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace's strength is not comparable to my immortal country's, it is inextricably linked to that realm, not to mention. Furthermore, she had once acknowledged the palace master of the Immortal Palace as her master." When the Empress Dowager heard this, she frowned. In fact, she also knew about this Divine Cloud Immortal Palace. And of course, she also knew that Sun Xiangyan had entered the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace before. Although this Divine Cloud Immortal Palace was just a sect located in the Sky Martial Continent, and its strength could not be compared to the Immortal Country. But to measure the strength of a force, one had to not only look at its strength, but also at its connections. But if we do not have an explanation for the matter of the forbidden grounds, our immortal country will definitely be laughed at by the people of the 10,000 worlds in the future. The Empress Dowager said in a deep voice, "Even if the matter of the forbidden grounds wasn't done by those two, they must have something to do with it. Empress Dowager, I have already made up my mind. Beauty, I will temporarily imprison these two people. I will give you a month's time to investigate this matter. If the results of the investigation prove that these two people did not destroy the forbidden grounds, then I will let them go. If the forbidden grounds were destroyed by these two people, then I can only act according to the laws of the immortal country." The Empress Dowager said in a serious tone. Then she closed her eyes and waved her hand. She said indifferently, "You can leave now." When Sun Xiangyan heard this, she opened her mouth. She wanted to say something, But when the words reached her mouth, she swallowed them back down. The Empress Dowager was her grandmother, and she had always doted on her. However, today's matter did not allow for personal feelings. Sun Xiangyin also understood the Empress Dowager's temperament. If she made a decision, it would be impossible for her to change it. Helpless, Sun Xiangyin could only respond and leave. Sun Di, who was at the side, remained silent the entire time, but the pride in his eyes slowly revealed itself. Empress Dowager, your grandson will take his leave, Sun Li said with a smile. Yes. Sun Li followed closely behind Sun Xiangyin and left the palace. In the royal palace, no one dared to be impudent. The power of the Purple Moon Immortal Empire was well known throughout the myriad heavens and realms. As long as it was a power that could stand on the stage, they would all be aware of it. When the two of them left the palace, Sun Xiangyin immediately turned around and stared coldly at Sun Li, who had left the palace with them. Yo, big sis, don't look at me like that. I'm so scared. Sun Li pretended to be afraid and said with a smile. Sun Xiangyin's eyes were filled with anger as she stared fixedly at Sun Li. She was gnashing her teeth, and her heroic face was filled with anger. Sun Li, father is seriously ill and has yet to find a cure, so he cannot manage the Immortal Kingdom. The position of King of the Immortal Kingdom will change hands in the future, but you must remember, whoever takes this position is not something that you or I could decide, but it is decided by Father, the Empress Dowager, and those lords. You playing these little tricks behind my back won't change anything. Whoever this position belongs to will belong to. Hee, big sis, look at what you're saying. It's as if this position is yours. I, Sun Xiangyin, don't care about this position. Don't care? If you don't care, then leave. Leave the Immortal Kingdom. Why did you suddenly come back when Father is seriously ill? Sun Li sneered. Royal Father is seriously ill? Shouldn't I come back? Sun Xiangyin clenched her fists. Heh, I'm too lazy to say anything. You said it yourself. Whoever this position belongs to will belong to. Sun Li said, the smile on his face becoming wider and wider. With his head held high, he directly passed through Sun Xiangyin and walked forward. Even though they were separated by more than 10 steps, Sun Xiangyin could still feel his pride. Sun Xiangyin clenched her fists tighter and tighter. Sun Li, she gave a loud shout. What's wrong now? Sun Li turned his head and smiled. However, what greeted him was a fist. Bang! Sun Li's face was punched, and he was sent flying, crashing into a spirit cultivator's shop not far away. The shop was smashed into smithereens by him, and he was also in a daze. Looking at it, this punch was made by Sun Xiangyin. Bastard, I won't let you go. Sun Li, let's wait and see. Sun Xiangyin retracted her fist and said angrily before walking away. Chapter 854. Time slowly passed, and the treasure box slowly self-destructed. The words around it became dimmer and dimmer. Ling Qing Yu stood at the side, staring at the words, staring at Su Yun, and then staring at the treasure box, her face filled with anxiety. In this period of time, she had been training in the sword sheath. Although she did not come out, she would often secretly pay attention to Su Yun. In fact, Su Yun did not know that in certain dangerous situations, Ling Qing was already prepared to make a move at any time, and the reason why she did not immediately help him was because she hoped that Su Yun would experience more setbacks, and only then would a person truly grow. If not when he was in trouble, Su Yun would forever be stuck in a rut, and she believed that he would not wish for Ling Qing to do that. Ling Qing did not know what kind of relationship she had with Su Yun. If it was said that she followed Su Yun to repay the kindness of the sword ancestor, then it should be enough for now. What's going on? Just then, Su Yun, who was training in the Heart Sutra, suddenly opened his eyes, his expression filled with seriousness. Su Yun, what's wrong? Ling Qing asked. Something's wrong. There's something wrong with this mental cultivation method, Su Yun said. What's wrong? I follow the description of the mental cultivation method to reverse the circulation, allowing the profound qi in the qi meridian to circulate in the opposite direction, storing the profound qi near the spirit core, but did not achieve the effect of increasing the spirit, much less what it described. Su Yun stared at the words and muttered, could it be that there's a problem with my training method? It's most likely that we did not understand it well enough. Ling Qingyu's gaze landed on the sentence that Su Yun was looking at. The cultivation of the mental cultivation method had already reached the middle stage. Although it was only a short 300 words and was only one realm, it was not an easy task to comprehend these 300 words in 16 hours. Yin and yang fuse. The void and reality intersect. Yin is yang. Void is reality. Yin and yang coexist. Void and reality coexist. Thousands of illusions. Endless heavenly laws. Ling Qingyu muttered. Su Yun frowned, but could not understand what she meant. The cultivation of the profound technique required days and months of training and comprehension. However, there was not enough time for him to comprehend. All he could do was combine what he knew and felt in the past to digest this mental cultivation method. However, no matter how Su Yun followed the description of the mental cultivation method, he was still unable to reach the level described. He was simply unable to activate his own mental fluctuations to form a domain. If one wanted to be like the Shadow Guard and create illusions around himself as he pleased, the prerequisite was that he had to be able to control his spiritual waves as he pleased. If he could skillfully control his spiritual waves, he would be able to overlap with other people's spiritual waves. He could even imitate the other party's spiritual waves and imbue his thoughts into the other party to change the other party's thoughts. This method was similar to the hypnosis that mortals often talked about, but it was different from hypnosis. This kind of thing was forceful and defenseless, and the method was much more brilliant. Everything had a bottleneck, and right now, Su Yun had encountered a bottleneck. Ling Qingyu naturally knew that if she did not help Su Yun quickly, she would have missed out on this exceptional illusion technique, which was a pity. She took a light breath, and her gaze landed on the mental cultivation method. Her eyes were serious and serious as she carefully read every word. After a long time, she seemed to have sensed something and suddenly spoke. It's useless for you to cultivate like this. What is it? Qingyu, did you see anything? Su Yun retracted his gaze and asked. I saw something. Ling Qingyu stared at the words without blinking, as though she was still reading them. However, not long after, her face suddenly changed, and in the end, it was covered with waves of crimson. Su Yun was baffled. Qingyu, what's wrong? No, nothing. Ling Qingyu anxiously retracted her gaze and pretended to cough. Nothing? Su Yun's eyes were filled with doubt. Then did you see anything? About that, Ling Qingyu's fair face became even redder. Her eyes were a little flustered. She originally planned to remain silent, but when she saw the slowly dissipating box, she mumbled a few words, then turned her head and said, All right, I'll tell you the truth. The 3 sentences in the middle of this mental cultivation method actually have another meaning. Another meaning? Hearing that, Su Yun was even more confused. He once again carefully read the few sentences in the middle of the mental cultivation method, but after reading it a few times, he still could not understand, and could only ask, Qingyu, just say it. What's the meaning of this? Although your cultivation is higher than mine, and your strength is stronger than mine, your experience is still lacking. Everyone's understanding is different. Those who are knowledgeable will naturally have a deeper understanding of things. In fact, the meaning of this mantra is the same when interpreted the other way around. Haven't you noticed? There are a few sentences with the same meaning in this mental cultivation method. What sentence? Yin is yang. What does this mean? It says that yin is yang, void is real, then positive is negative. The order of understanding this mental cultivation method should be like this. The first half should be read according to a normal person's way of thinking, and the middle part should be read in reverse. Thinking in reverse. The last part needs to be split into 2 parts, first to understand it, and then to understand it in reverse. After hearing Ling Qingyu's words, Su Yun was suddenly enlightened. He immediately turned his head and read it again, reading it again according to Ling Qingyu's meaning. However, after reading it, Su Yun's expression became strange. Yin and yang need to fuse. Cough, cough. Didn't he just say that he wanted a dual cultivate? Su Yun felt that it was a little strange, Could it be that this mental cultivation method required dual cultivation? In such a short period of time, how could there be a suitable candidate for dual cultivation? Although Su Yun had Ling Qingyu here, he couldn't possibly ask Ling Qingyu to dual cultivate with him just for a profound technique, right? If this mental cultivation method fell into the hands of someone else, what would happen if there was a peerless cultivator beside him? Could it be that he didn't want to practice anymore? I think it's better if I don't train anymore. Su Yun took a deep breath, turned his head, and said, Su Yun, this kind of mental cultivation method is something you can't ask for. How can you waste it? Ling Qingyu immediately said, I don't want to waste it either, but Su Yun looked at her with his eyes wide open and said in disbelief, Could it be that you? Ling Qingyu was startled. As if she had thought of something, her face was so red that it looked like blood was about to drip out. She snorted and said, Don't let your imagination run wild. I'm not thinking about anything, but you're the one who's thinking too much. Su Yun shrugged his shoulders. If I don't dual cultivate this profound technique, I won't be able to cultivate it. This is the true devil sex forbidden grounds. Where can I find a woman to dual cultivate with? Do you want me to find a female devil cultivator? That was naturally impossible. After leaving the ancient tomb, it would not be so easy to enter again. The guy at the entrance might not let Su Yun out. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu was surprised for a moment, then fiercely rolled her eyes at him. What are you thinking? The fusion of yin and yang here is not for you to use the dual cultivation method to cultivate. Not dual cultivation? Then what's going on? Use your mind to think. Fantasy. Su Yun was dumbfounded. What was going on? Could it be self? Masturbation? He felt that his thoughts were almost unable to keep up with Ling Qingyu's thoughts. Between reality and illusion, there is reality and illusion. You're the real body, so you have to create an illusion. Both reality and illusion are you, and this is what it means to be real, and yin is yang. This, Su Yun was completely speechless. What are you still standing there for? There's not much time left. Hurry up and cultivate. Ling Qingyu urged. How is this possible? In Su Yun's entire life, he had never done such a thing before. To dual cultivate with something that he had imagined, this was no longer a fantasy. This was simply a lunatic. Seeing Su Yun's hesitant look, Ling Qingyu became anxious. She looked at the treasure box. At the moment, the treasure box had completely lost its halo, and the box's body was beginning to decay. Looking at its speed, it would not even be able to hold on for 6 hours. It was too late. Ling Qingyu secretly clenched her teeth. She suddenly walked in front of Su Yun and sat down cross-legged. Su Yun was startled. Before he could speak, Ling Qingyu bellowed, Don't speak, release your mind. Qingyu, what are you doing? Just do as I say. Ling Qingyu lowered her head. Her cheeks were flushed red, and her eyes were already closed. Su Yun's head was filled with fog, but before he could even react, a strange spiritual ripple came crashing towards him and struck his body. Don't say any more. There's not enough time. Ling Qingyu's voice that was as soft as a mosquito floated out. Su Yun hesitated. Looking at Ling Qingyu's delicate and beautiful face, he secretly swallowed his saliva. Qingyu, aren't you sacrificing too much like this? What are you thinking about? Seeing that Su Yun was still not moving, Ling Qingyu was a little angry. This is only in the spirit. The spirit is different. It's just like how your mind is running wild all day. What does it matter? Our bodies aren't pure. What are you afraid of? Hurry up. There's not much time left. Do you still want this mental cultivation method or not? Ling Qingyu said with some disappointment. Hearing that, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief and did not say anything else. Since Ling Qingyu had already made such a sacrifice, if he continued to decline, it would seem a little hypocritical. Furthermore, what Ling Qingyu said was right. It was just a dual cultivation of the spirit, and nothing really happened between the two of them. Although the spirit belonged to two people and was different from usual, but the meaning was still different. He calmed himself down, closed his eyes, and released a wave of spirit ripples, slowly approaching Ling Qingyu's spirit ripples. Chapter 855. There was a point in the yin-yang manifestation art that was extremely good. Between the real and the fake, the real was like a palm, and the fake could control the real. Those with a strong spirit could release a spiritual curtain that enveloped the other party. Those who entered the curtain would have their own spirit corroded, and once they could not resist it, they would be controlled by the other party. Back then, the Holy Mother of the Rivers and the Void Spirit Saint were like this. Su Yun had the protection of the Imperial battle armor and was invulnerable, so they tried to shatter Su Yun's mental defense. However, compared to the Yin-Yang manifestation art, their methods were simply too inferior. They only wanted to shatter the opponent's defensive line, but did not want to insert the opponent's mental weakness, numb the opponent, or even achieve the goal of controlling the opponent. Currently, Su Yun had fused his own mental undulations with Ling Qingyu's. Ling Qingyu's consciousness did not have any defenses and was even completely open to Su Yun, allowing him to easily enter her consciousness. This was a kind of guidance from Ling Qingyu. There was not enough time. In order for Su Yun to cultivate this mental cultivation method as soon as possible, Ling Qingyu had no choice but to sacrifice herself and use her own consciousness to dual cultivate with Su Yun. The hardest thing to do was to accept a beauty's kindness. Although it was only in spirit, Ling Qingyu's sacrifice was still not small. When the spiritual ripple came into contact with Su Yun's, he felt the surrounding scenery quickly distort, and his own consciousness also underwent a subtle change. It was as if something was pulling him. This must be Ling Qingyu's spirit. The colorful light screen formed by the 100 Treasures pouch had already disappeared, and in its place was a vast expanse of white clouds and mist. Within the clouds and mist floated a white jade platform, and on top of the platform was a magnificent palace. In front of the palace was an incomparably large stone sword, facing the palace's entrance. The eaves of the palace were arched, golden bricks and jade tiles, noble and beautiful, and the current Su Yun was standing in front of the palace. He looked around and realized that this seemed to be the scene inside the sword world. However, he had never seen this palace before. "What are you still standing there for? Come in quickly." At this moment, a reproachful voice came from the palace. Su Yun was startled. It was Ling Qingyu's voice. "Hurry up, there's no time left. Come in quickly." She looked anxious, but her voice was trembling. Su Yun was not an idiot. He understood what Ling Qingyu meant. He secretly swallowed his saliva, took a deep breath, and walked inside. Su Yun did not know that there was such a palace in the sword world, but at the moment he did not care about it, because in his line of sight, a gigantic bed appeared. It was a bed completely made of gold and jade, located in the center of the palace. The bed was very big, and the bed frame was inlaid with gold and jade. The curtains hung down like silver muslin, and the person on the bed was reflected by the silver muslin, forming a graceful silhouette. When she saw Su Yun enter, her delicate body trembled, as though she was nervous. Su Yun, who was standing at the door, seemed to be able to hear her breathing. Although it was only the sound of her heartbeat speeding up and her breathing, it was so tempting to the man's ears. She sat down cross-legged and said in a low voice, "Come here quickly." Su Yun took a deep breath and walked over. As he approached the bed, he could smell an intoxicating fragrance. He stood there for a moment, then lifted the curtain. What entered his eyes was the beautiful and alluring beauty. Her eyes were half closed, and her red lips were slightly pursed. Her snow-white skin was covered in a faint layer of pink due to her shyness, making her look especially cute. This was Ling Qingyu? Su Yun felt that his consciousness was in a trance, and he could not believe it. "Come up," Ling Qingyu said with her head lowered. Su Yun, when did you become so sentimental?" Seemingly a little angry, Ling Qingyu did not know where she got her courage from. She directly raised her head and stared at Su Yun. "This is just our consciousness. To put it bluntly, it is just our fantasy. Nothing that happens here will change anything. What are you worried about?" She was right. Su Yun secretly nodded. This time, it was all Ling Qingyu's good intentions. If he was still bashful, Ling Qingyu would look down on him. Immediately, he went up the golden jade bed and sat in front of Ling Qingyu. This was not a single person's consciousness. but a world created by two people's consciousness. Ling Qing, you could naturally feel Su Yun's actions. Seeing that he was already sitting in front of her, Ling Qingyu, who was initially angry, became nervous again. There was not much time. He could not hesitate. Su Yun took a deep breath, extended his hand out, and touched Ling Qingyu. Air! Ling Qingyu's delicate body trembled. Her breathing became more hurried. This is fake. It's all an illusion. Su Yun immediately said, I know that time is of the essence. Hurry up and move. I have to take off my clothes first. Su Yun said helplessly. Ling Qingyu did not say anything. She just turned her gaze. Her meaning was clear. Su Yun was not an idiot. He immediately extended his hand and untied the white robe on Ling Qingyu's body. The robe slid down her smooth, fragrant skin, and her creamy skin was immediately exposed to the air. Her perfect collarbone, elegant lines, and fair skin that made people's hearts beat faster, and her breasts that were half covered by the robe. Su Yun was dumbstruck. Ling Qingyu was often in the sword world and rarely moved around in the outside world. She did not come into contact with people, nor did she put on any makeup, and only focused on cultivation. Her consciousness was controlled by her, but at this moment, she had already completely immersed herself in it, and her body was probably no different from her in reality. Su Yun gently pushed his robe, and the pure white and soft place could be seen clearly. Ling Qingyu closed her eyes tightly. Her delicate body was already trembling violently. She wanted to reach out to cover her breasts, but just as she raised her hand, she resisted the urge. This is just an illusion. It's all fake. Su Yun immediately comforted her. I know. Hurry up, Ling Qingyu said with her eyes closed, but her face was covered in sweat. Although it was only a spiritual dual cultivation, it was still difficult for her. Su Yun laughed bitterly. He immediately took off his clothes, extended his hand to grab her hands, closed his eyes, and began to follow the path of dual cultivation. The two of them looked at each other with sincerity, but as they slowly activated the dual cultivation technique, their breathing became hurried. Su Yun did not know that at the moment, his spirit ripples and Ling Qingyu's spirit ripples were quickly fusing together, and the treasure box that landed beside the two of them also released circles of silver-white light, enveloping the two of them. After a while, Ling Qingyu's delicate body started to heat up, and her eyes started to blur. This was a very strange feeling, and it was the first time she had experienced it. Although she understood this when it was actually applied to her body, it was different from what she had described. After finishing her preparations, Ling Qingyu felt as if she was about to be melted by the man in front of her. All the strength in her body disappeared without a trace, and she directly fell onto the bed, unable to sit still. It's all an illusion. It's all an illusion. It's okay. It's okay. Ling Qingyu thought in her heart, comforting herself. At this time, the man slowly opened his deep eyes and stared at her with a burning gaze. Ling Qingyu bit her lips, her small hands holding onto the silk scarf on the bed, her delicate neck turned away, not daring to look at Su Yun. However, in the next second, a body that was filled with masculinity and muscles that were as hard as rocks pressed down on her. Ling Qingyu's body trembled more and more, but before she could say anything, her cherry lips were blocked by a big mouth. She widened her eyes as she looked at the face in front of her. A numb feeling spread through her entire body like an electric current. Her breathing became more and more hurried, and she felt as if she was suffocating. After a long while, their lips finally separated. At this moment, Ling Qingyu's body was so hot that it felt like it was burning. It's all an illusion. Su Yun muttered. Ling Qingyu let out a voice that was as soft as a mosquito. Then let's begin. Ling Qingyu's performance made Su Yun even hotter. She was so elegant, refined, and otherworldly. She was like a treasured sword that had never been unsheathed, sharp yet intoxicating. At this moment, she had already lost all of her strength, almost like a porcelain doll. She closed her eyes tightly, not daring to look. Even though she had been hinting to herself that all of this was just an illusion, but this real feeling made it hard for people to believe that it was an illusion. Woo! A tearing pain suddenly emerged from her body. Ling Qingyu was caught off guard and almost cried out, her eyes suddenly opened wide. Although it was her first time, she was not stupid, but what was this feeling? This was only the two of them in the spiritual world, and everything that happened inside was based on their imaginations. This feeling, Ling Qingyu had never experienced it before, and it came from Su Yun. That meant this must be something that Su Yun had done with her in the past, right? What entered her eyes was the man's gentle and loving face. Ling Qingyu was startled. It was the first time she had seen Su Yun reveal such an expression towards her. Su Yun gently kissed her forehead and said softly, "Qingyu, thank you." "Idiot," Ling Qingyu pretended to be annoyed and said, but her heart was filled with an inexplicable sense of joy. Ling Qingyu felt that it was strange to the spirit cultivator. This kind of feeling should be ignored. Why was it so obvious now? Could it be that she had subconsciously thought so and had substituted herself into this mental imagination? But before she could think further, an even more wondrous feeling surged through her entire body. She could be said to be a blank piece of paper that did not understand anything, but all of this was brought about by this spirit that did not belong to her. In an instant, she almost lost herself. However, at this moment, she understood that this kind of feeling could not be created by a single person. At this moment, the two of them had completely fused into one, and the two of them had given birth to a new consciousness, which had broken down and fused into their consciousness, enriching their consciousness. Chapter 856. Within the palace, the oppressive voice and the bone-piercing moans gradually faded away. Immediately after, a white light overflowed from the large bed in the center and dissipated into the distance. Then, there was a deathly silence. After an unknown period of time, there was finally movement on the bed. "Don't be greedy, hurry up and train." Ling Qingyu's rebuking voice came out. Su Yun naturally would not disappoint Ling Qingyu's expectations. She had dedicated herself to help Su Yun obtain this cultivation technique. If he were to blindly ask for it and waste his time, he would be letting Ling Qingyu down. The two of them had completely fused their minds and had already reached the point where yin and yang were fused. Yin was yang. They immediately sat down cross-legged and began to circulate according to the description of the yin-yang manifestation art. Circles of mental energy began to ripple back and forth around Su Yun's body. Other than that, there was also a mysterious energy that mysteriously appeared within his mind. They quietly mixed in, causing his mind to become more stable and powerful. Although he did not know when this energy appeared, Su Yun knew that it was the energy of the treasure box. Ling Qingyu's body slowly dimmed, along with the bed beneath her and the beautiful palace around her. Everything was like smoke, vanishing into thin air. Su Yun quietly comprehended. A person's spirit was actually a person's soul. A person who lost his spirit was just a walking corpse. And the domain produced by the spirit was a domain that belonged solely to one's soul. People always relied on their physical bodies in battle, but they did not know that the power of the spirit was even stronger. It was a power that came from the depths of the soul, the most essential power. Illusions were only a part of the power of the spirit, and when a person's spirit power exploded out, the destruction it caused would far exceed the power produced by the physical body. Su Yun slowly comprehended in his own imaginary spiritual world. The 300 words of the yin-yang manifestation art seemed to be a primer, leading him into a vast and mystical world. Ling Qingyu curled up her body and secretly looked at the man who was sitting cross-legged in front of her. Her fair face was sometimes flushed and shy, and sometimes returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. Gradually, the energy of the treasure box weakened. The light characters around him also slowly dimmed, losing much of their luster. It was about time. Ling Qingyu raised her eyes and looked at the person in front of her. When the words of the yin-yang manifestation art completely disappeared, Su Yun opened his eyes. The treasure box that contained the technique had already turned into a small pile of dust. "How do you feel?" Ling Qingyu asked. Su Yun could not help but laugh. "What do you mean?" Ling Qingyu's face, which had just recovered a little, immediately turned red again. "Those are all fake. You better forget about it. This is going to be difficult. You, how can you face Qing'er? Ling Qingyu was anxious. Hearing that, Suyin did not dare to laugh too much, and immediately said, all right, I'll forget. I'll definitely forget everything. Humph. Ling Qingyu tilted her head to the side. At that moment, she was acting like a little girl. All right, Qingyu, don't be angry. No matter what, I really have to thank you this time. Cut it out. You owe me anyway. You'll have to pay me back in the future. I will pay you back. I'm just afraid I won't be able to pay you back, he said softly, his voice revealing a strong sense of complexity. Ling Qingyu was startled for a moment, but in the end, she chose to keep her mouth shut. He stood up, looked around, and his gaze landed on the other treasure boxes in the 100 treasures bag. Have you mastered the yin-yang manifestation art? It's not bad to say that I've mastered it. What do you mean? Actually, strictly speaking, this profound technique cannot be called a technique. It is actually just a guiding mental cultivation method, and its main purpose is to guide the potential of the spiritual force in the human body. The so-called yin and yang manifestation is just a combination of the physical body and the soul, and the yin and yang manifestation is the evolution of all kinds of techniques. Suyin laughed. Ling Qingyu listened for a while, looking confused, but she obviously did not plan to ask any further, because she was not interested in this spell. Do you want to open the other boxes? She asked. No need. Suyin shook his head. There's not enough time. Furthermore, if the other boxes are also profound technique like this, then how can I learn it? These treasures are with me, and they can't run away. I'll take them in the future. That's true. Ling Qingyu nodded her head, then suddenly thought of something and said, Suyin, aren't you going to the sword world to retrieve the sword recently? There aren't many swords, as long as there are enough. That's true, but you don't have to go get it. Your previous 2 movements have caused a lot of changes in the sword world. Not to mention getting the sword, it would be best if you don't even use the swords that you have already conquered in the sword world, and let them all stay in the sword sheath. You mean, ominous sword? Suyin frowned. The death sword is a very special sword. Don't wear it on your body anymore. Keep it in the sword sheath. Ling Qingyu said. Suyin nodded his head. He understood what Ling Qingyu meant. Maybe when he fought against the Supreme Sect and used the evil sword, the seal on the evil sword in the sword world had loosened, whether it was the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword, tribulation fire sword, or desolator sword. In the end, they were all just divine swords that sealed the evil sword. I got it. Suyin nodded his head. During this period of time, I will temporarily use the Lotus Star Sword as a martial art. When the seal on the evil sword heals again, I will take them. It's not that you can't use it at all, but you should still use it when you need it. Yes. Suyin stood up and kept all the treasure boxes around him. What are you doing now? Of course I'm going to continue searching for the treasures of the Supreme Expert. There's not much time left, and I don't know when the Immortal Seeking Sect will come. Suyin said. Ling Qingyu was silent for a moment, but in the end, she did not say another word and directly flew into the sword sheath, transforming into a white light and disappearing into the sword sheath. Suyin originally wanted to say something, but after thinking about it, he decided to forget about it. Although it was only in his mind and could not be taken seriously, he could not pretend that nothing had happened. Although Ling Qingyu had seen a lot of things, she was still a woman after all, and could not let go of it. He carried the Lotus Star Sword and walked towards the next great demonic statue. The Lotus Star Sword had a partial buff to the illusion technique, so it was a good time to try out the yin-yang manifestation art. Now, that Su Yun's mental strength had also been increased, his physical body was invincible. If his mental strength could go up, it would definitely be a qualitative leap for his strength. Oh, you're here. As they approached the 3rd statue, a melodious female voice came out from the statue. Suyin looked up, his eyes slightly congealing. She was a tall and slender female devil cultivator. She was dressed in leather clothes. Her waist was filled with bells. Her long hair was curled up. Her appearance was heroic. Her expression was sharp. She did not have any weapons, but on her shoulder was a statue of an eagle. The eagle was currently stepping on her shoulder, its sharp eagle eyes staring at him. She did not have a space bag on her waist, nor did she have a storage ring on her finger. Seeing that, Su Yun was interested. What could this great demon give me? For you to be able to reach here, it means that you have already passed the test of the two lords. Not bad, the new demon lord. Even if you lose to me, it would not be a shameful thing, because what we expected was that the demon lord would be able to obtain the inheritance of a few great demons after entering the ancient tomb. You have already obtained 2 of them, so it is normal for you to lose to the third one. The statue spoke again. It's too early to say all this. Everything has to be tried before we know. Senior, we can begin. Su Yun raised the lotus star sword in his hand and said indifferently, if Su Yun is not a match for him and loses to Senior, then he can only blame Su Yun for not being skilled enough. The new demon lord is too impatient. You have fought twice before. Don't you need to slow down? Anxious? The real devil sect is even more anxious than me now. Su Yun thought, but did not say anything. The statue no longer wasted its breath and directly said in a low voice, since you are anxious to accept the test, then I will satisfy you, the new demon lord. As long as you can pass my test, I will give you my demon spirit eagle. This demon eagle is a super puppet equipment that I have spent my entire life to condense. Its potential is limitless, and currently, I have only given it the strength of a first-stage spirit sage. And what you need to do is to defeat it. Conquer it. Can you do it? Spirit profound. Holy, Su Yun sucked in a breath of cold air. If you're afraid, it's still not too late to give up now. The statue said, I was just sighing. I didn't say I was afraid. Su Yun regained his senses and laughed. Up till now, I have not had a good fight with an existence of the spirit sage, and I do not know if I can win, but no matter what, I will do my best. If that's the case, then that's naturally for the best. The statue nodded, and then her pitch-black stone body began to emit a large amount of devil chi. The devil chi crawled out of the stone body like snakes, spreading in all directions, and finally wrapped around the eagle standing on the shoulder of the statue. The eagle was originally grayish-white in color, but after being entangled by the devil chi, it immediately became pitch-black. However, its pair of eagle eyes were already incomparably red, making it look especially cautious. The eagle had been activated. Su Yun tightened his eyes. Subdue him. 3 simple words came out from the statue. These 3 words were like an order that could not be disobeyed. When the eagle heard this, it immediately moved. Dark. The loud cry of an eagle reverberated through the air. The eagle raised its head, stared at Su Yun for a moment, then spread its wings and flew into the sky. It was previously curled up, and Su Yun did not know how big it was. When it spread its wings, he could clearly see that the size of the eagle's wings had already surpassed that of an adult devil tiger. What made people's scalps go numb was that there were countless twisted faces on the inside of its wings. Chapter 857. The eagle spread its wings majestically, but the terrifying demon face on the inside of the wings simply made people shudder. However, the demon eagle flapped its huge wings at Su Yun, and the terrifying demon face inside the wings immediately rushed out, biting toward Su Yun. A total of over 1,000 demon faces, terrifying beyond compare. With mournful screams, they directly pounced towards Su Yun's face. He quickly moved to avoid these demon faces. Originally, he wanted to use the yin-yang manifestation art to see the power of this technique, but this time, he was facing a mechanical puppet. Illusions were useless against it, so he could only give up. Although there were many demon faces, they could not keep up with Su Yun's speed and were easily dodged by him. Su Yun carried the Lotus Star sword and quickly shuttled back and forth, leaping over the demon faces and pouncing towards the demon eagle behind him. Unexpectedly, the demonic shadow flapped its wings again, and countless demonic faces appeared on the inside of its wings. Asterisk crash. Asterisk up. The demonic faces let out deafening roars that made one's spirit tremble. Su Yun secretly urged the Lotus Star sword, and a white light rippled around his body. At this moment, his mental strength was not weak. Although he was not completely immune to this ear-piercing scream, he would not be affected much. He activated the Imperial Battle Robe, released his divine power, and directly rushed towards the demon eagle with the demon face. When the demon face approached Su Yun, it was completely purified by the divine power and disappeared. Oh, this is a divine object? The great demonic statue behind him let out a cry of surprise. But at the moment, Su Yun was already close to the demon eagle. The snow-white lotus star sword was like a bolt of lightning that cut through the night, directly slashing towards the eagle's head. This was a puppet with the strength of a spirit sage. It could not be underestimated. Clack! Just as the lotus star sword was about to strike, a strange sound suddenly came out. Su Yun was startled. He looked up and saw that the demon eagle's beak had accurately bit onto the lotus star sword's blade. What incredible speed! What immense power! Crack! The demon eagle raised its head and forcefully snatched the lotus star sword away from Su Yun's hands, and directly held it in its mouth. This sudden burst of brute force caught Su Yun off guard. Good fellow, you actually dare to steal my sword. Su Yun secretly snorted, his speed once again exploding, wanting to snatch the lotus star sword. However, the demon eagle swung its head fiercely. Holding the sword in its mouth, it continuously slashed at Su Yun. It swung its neck in a very good manner, and the snow-white lotus star sword seemed to have come to life, continuously swaying in front of Su Yun. It was extremely strange. This fellow actually knew sword moves. The demon eagle's speed was not very fast, but its strength was astonishing, causing the air to rumble. Even if the sword could not touch Su Yun, the terrifying strength released by the sword was enough to force him back. It was obvious that he was no match for him in a direct confrontation, so he could only rely on the black saber. Su Yun secretly thought. He immediately took out the pitch-black long blade. With a shake of his arm, he swung it 1,000 times. His strength instantly accumulated to the peak, more than 2,000 times. He stared at the lotus star sword that was flying towards him and swung his blade. Dang! The blade and sword clashed, shattering the void. A terrifying force exploded out, causing the ground to crack. Su Yun's arms trembled, but the demon eagle was not feeling well either. The hooked beak loosened a little. Su Yun immediately seized the opportunity and activated the limitless sword arts. With a sound, the lotus star sword flew out of the eagle's beak, spun in the air, and pierced towards the demon eagle. Dark! The demon eagle let out a sound as its wings were pierced through, causing a large amount of black feathers to fall off. A good chance. Su Yun took a few steps forward and slashed crazily with his black blade. His speed was extremely fast, and there were thousands of blade images that turned into a big mouth that swallowed the demon eagle. However, at this moment, the demon eagle suddenly flapped its wings, and its body suddenly became huge. In the blink of an eye, it had become the size of a small mountain. Clang, 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 clang. The berserk blade struck the demon eagle's body with a terrifying force. But the gigantic demon eagle's body seemed to be made of copper and iron, unable to move at all. Now, this demon eagle will have a good fight with you. The great demonic statue made a sound. Whiz! Just then, the demon eagle's head smashed towards Su Yun fiercely, the inverted eagle beak piercing towards his head. Su Yun immediately dodged. Don't! An earth-shattering sound rang out. The place where Su Yun was standing was directly blasted apart by the demon eagle's poke, and a slender crack appeared. This was just the brute force of the demon eagle. If it had brought along a profound chi with this attack, this ancient tomb would have been destroyed. Su Yun's face changed slightly. At this time, it was time for the demon eagle to display the strength of the spirit sage. Seeing that Su Yun had dodged its attack again, the demon eagle seemed to have lost its patience. It opened its gigantic wings and started to flap them crazily at Su Yun. The wings swept up a terrifying devil chi and directly blew towards him. These devil chi were like many strong and powerful arms, fiercely tearing at his body. Not only did it stop Su Yun in his tracks, it also caused him unbearable pain. With the protection of the Imperial Battle Robe, coupled with a series of fortuitous encounters, how strong was Su Yun's current physical body? However, this demonic wind made him feel pain, as if even the Imperial battle rogue could not completely isolate this strange power. The great demonic statue let out a surprised expression. I didn't expect you to be able to fight against this destructive wind head-on. This is truly unbelievable. This is something that even the spirit sage would find difficult to withstand head-on. Wind of destruction? Suyin naturally did not know what it was, but hearing the great devil's words, he was secretly shocked. He did not expect the power of the wind to be so astonishing. The demon eagle had copper skin and iron bones. It was difficult to injure it in the slightest. At this moment, it could be said to be invincible. How should he attack? Wait! A ray of light suddenly flashed past Su Yun's mind. He seemed to have made a mistake from the very beginning. This demon eagle did not seem to be controlled by the great demonic statue. Normally, the mechanical puppets would be controlled by humans, unless it was a mechanical puppet with intelligence, such as the Devil Bone Giant. Existences at the level of the demon eagle must already have their own thoughts. Not to mention that the one here was only the statue of the great demon and a bit of consciousness left behind by the great demon. It was not her who was originally here, so it would be difficult for her to control such a powerful puppet. Therefore, the demon eagle's fighting style and actions were all based on its own thoughts. If that was the case, the yin-yang manifestation art could definitely be used. Thinking about it, Su Yin calmed himself down. His gaze quickly swept across the great demon statue, and then he retreated a few steps, standing at an extremely far place, distancing himself from the demon eagle. Su Yin stopped in his tracks. The wind of destruction could not do anything to him, so the demon eagle naturally took the initiative to attack. It flapped its wings, and its huge body slowly rose into the air. It was about 7 to 8 meters above the ground, and then flew towards Su Yin. From afar, it looked like a huge mountain had soared into the sky and was flying towards him. Su Yin took a step forward, holding onto the black blade in one hand. He raised the other, and the Lotus Star sword flew over, one black and one white, one blade and one sword facing the incoming gigantic demon eagle. He closed his eyes, and his body released a wave of mental energy that spread out in all directions, spreading far and wide, but very quickly the wave disappeared. The great demonic consciousness inside the statue seemed to have sensed something. However, the demon eagle let out a loud cry and approached Su Yin. 2 blood-red lightning bolts shot out from its eyes and struck towards him. These 2 bolts of lightning were so ferocious that they seemed to want to tear apart the void and shatter the earth. From afar, they looked like 2 blood-red dragons. Clang! Just as the lightning flew out, it was forcefully intercepted by something in midair and immediately disappeared. On the other hand, Su Yin was still standing in his original position without moving an inch. The demon eagle was furious, but it did not know what was going on. It did not even see Su Yin make a move. Was the other party relying on speed? However, even if it was speed, it should have sensed it. However, in the next second, its head was suddenly smashed by something. Its entire body fell towards the ground, and its head even smashed into the soil below. It was in a sorry state. Good speed, good strength, and existence at the 8th stage of the Spirit Emperor actually has such a method. Powerful, as expected of my devil sex demon lord. The great demon praised. Obviously, she had caught Su Yun's actions, but Su Yin was not moved. He was now completely focused on one thing. That was how to defeat the mechanical puppet in front of him that had a spirit sage level existence. After suffering such a loss, the demon eagle was especially furious. Its pair of eagle eyes turned blood red. It raised its wings high, and with a flap, countless feathers flew out from its wings. These feathers seemed to have locked onto Su Yun's tracking missiles and flew towards him. However, Su Yun, who was standing there holding onto his blade and sword, still did not move, allowing the feathers to attack him. Boom! 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 Tens of thousands of terrifying feathers attacked, directly submerging Su Yun's position. Shocking explosions sounded out incessantly, and destructive ripples spread throughout the entire ancient tomb. The demon eagle opened its bloody eyes and stared at the other side. But at this moment, its head suddenly suffered another heavy blow, and its entire head was once again smashed into the soil dong. The ancient tomb trembled. The demon eagle's face was covered in dirt, and it was in an even more sorry state. The tens of thousands of feathers on the other side had dispersed, and what was reflected in his line of sight was a messy land, and Su Yun, who was completely fine and unharmed. Such a terrifying attack was actually unable to cause him any harm. How is this possible? One had to know that this demon eagle currently had the strength of a spirit sage. The demon eagle stood up and let out a high-pitched cry. Su Yin could not understand what it meant. Maybe it was angry. After all, it had been knocked on the head by Su Yin twice. How could such a proud existence endure it? However, Su Yun's guess was wrong. The demon eagle flapped its wings, and then its huge body slowly shrank, finally returning to its previous size. It flew backwards and landed on the shoulder of the great demonic statue. At the same time, the great demonic statue spoke. "All right, the new demon lord, you've won." Hearing that, Su Yin was immediately dumbfounded. He won. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.